Caroline, Willy, DMase, 1025, 1063, The Game, and the Game Nashville app. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. And we're broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Happy Tuesday.
We extend this series day.
Happy Bring It Back to Nashville on Friday.
Happy Bring It Back to Nashville on Friday day. So it's a great day. Other than my Lakers losing last night, the series is done. They got beat 4-1. They didn't get swept. I guess that's sort of the consolation prize. You didn't get swept, Lakers.
I saw the mayor of LA tweeted out, at least we won the in-season tournament.
Yeah, they won the in-season tournament. They
and
got a banner for that one.
I don't think that landed very well with Lakers fans.
Yeah, I don't think it did either. But hey, you gotta look at it glass half full. So, good job, LA Lakers. See you next year.
Yeah, see you next. Maybe LeBron, maybe not.
Maybe LeBron, maybe LeBron and Bronny.
Did you like his comment that he said about in the press conference? Somebody asked him, "What's the future with you in LA?" He goes, "I don't want to answer that question."
I mean, he doesn't. I mean, I think he's putting them in the place where they're going to draft his son. And listen, if I was I'm not going to say if I was a dad because I am a dad. But if my son, what I meant to say, if my son. If he and I were close in age like that, in the football world, if you can play, 25, 30 years, that'd be great. But if not, I would love to play with my son. I really would. And so I don't, I know a lot of people don't like it, but, if you got an opportunity to play with your son or, whatnot in a profession that you love and enjoy, then if it can happen, then you try to make it happen. It's what, nepotism at its finest. So what? At least he'll get 1 year with his son. So I think that's the beauty. But I think the bad part is, man, what if his son's really not good enough and they draft him anyway because of LeBron? It's double-edged sword.
His son isn't very good, is he?
His son, he's
averaging
not,
like 8 points a game?
Yeah, he's
USC?
not as, I think he's a good basketball player. But when you start, like the NBA guys, those are like the best of the best. It's like, you're good, but are your NBA good? I think Bronny's good, but is he NBA good? I don't know. Mm-hmm. But he's going to get drafted just like some other guys do. But he's going to get drafted, and he may get drafted in the first round because of his dad. But, you see stuff like that happen, whether it be in sports or in business. Mm-hmm. You groom your son, and you can hire him if you own the business. Well, in this case, he groomed his son, and he's on the team, and he's gonna get him drafted by the LA Lakers. So there you go.
Well, I know DMase and DJ will be on LeBron watch here over the next couple of weeks, and we are firmly on Predators watch today. Got to win this one. Now, we talked all season long. It's not a must-win game because must-win game is you lose and you go home. This is a must-win game. And Willy joins us from Vancouver. Willy, I wish I could go into this game a little bit more optimistic, a little bit with a more glass half full perspective. But after the Predators blew a 3-1 lead in Game 4, when they lost in overtime, when they're now looking at the wrong side of 3-1, I don't feel very optimistic about this team's chances. Whether it's tonight or the rest of the series, if they do win tonight, it feels like it's over. And I don't want to feel like that when it's not over.
Well, I think it's natural to not have a lot of optimism when you're down 3-1. But I think that would be the case with any team that's been down 3-1 or 3-0 and come back and won. It has happened in sports. And, I'll say this off the top. That was one of the more devastating losses I've watched in person of a team I follow. And one that's right up there, DMase, is the one you guys lost to the Ravens in 2000. We've referenced that game many times, where you just walk out of there going, how? What just happened? This the utter shock when you were the better team and you let a team off the hook. And that's how sports works sometimes. You remember the big comebacks that your team makes, and you remember the games like that where you have full control of the game. They had, I thought, beaten the Canucks into submission. I thought the Canucks were kind of saying no mas with about 3 minutes to go. They could not get a shot 5-on-5. They literally could not get the puck down there to get a shot. And then suddenly they pulled the goalie and they make 2 great plays to get the game to overtime, and then everything turned at that point. So being able to shake off a loss like that is not an easy thing to do, and it would be easy just to mail it in at this point. But what I would say for optimism is that I think the Predators have played way too well in this series. This series has been way too even to be down 3-1. And I think when that's the case, I think you can see a pathway to getting back in the series. But you can't do anything until you win tonight. So they've got to prove that they can shake off a loss like that and come back and play a good game tonight and get a win. And I would say over the course of the season, if you look back through, they've had some really painful losses during the course of the year and come back and won after that. And no more so than the 9-2 game against the Stars on February 15th or whatever that was, when they bounced back and played their best hockey of the year. So they're capable.
Yeah, they're capable, but can they get it going? Because to me, once that last goal was scored in regulation, it seemed like they were done. It just seemed like the body language went from, I'm sure we're going to win this game. We're confident. We're going back to Vancouver. I was going to say Calgary. Vancouver, and the series is ours. We've won this game. The series is ours. It went from that to just utter disbelief. Like it was like they couldn't pull themselves out of that shell that they were in. And that overtime, it was just, they might as well have now been on ice, honestly. They really shouldn't have, because they came out and they were not ready. So I'm hoping that moment stays there. That moment of shell shock stays where it's at, and they're able to get past it this game, because the way they look at the end of the game, and I'm not talking about the end of regulation, the way they looked at the end of the game, it looked like a team that was tired and defeated, and they didn't know how they were going to win the next game. That's what it seemed like at the end of overtime. Now, I hope, like you said, it's different, but it's hard to come out of a shell like that when you've basically been the better team in this series, but you're down 3-1. If you're asking me, honestly, this should have been a sweep. It should have been, because they've been the better team, all with the exception of 7 minutes or 5 minutes and 12 seconds. And I don't know how you pull yourself out of that as a team, knowing that you gave all of this, but yet and still you're down 3-1. Because there's what can Coach Bruno say? He can't put any better game plan together, because the game plan that they had was working. So what do you do as a head coach? It's almost like you just got to talk them into forgetting about the last game, because what can you do from a schematic standpoint? Because they played well.
And I think that they want to forget that game.
Yeah.
Like, it sounded like from all of the media scrums post-game, like Philip Forsberg didn't want to talk about the game at all, not even the good parts of the game. You could tell Gus Nyquist, the look on his face, even when they went to overtime, and especially after the game ended, when Elias Lindholm, when he found the net in overtime, you could tell on Gus Nyquist's face that he was just disgusted. I think they want to forget it. I think that team, at least it feels like from their conversations, what they said, just overall body language and vibe after the game, that they've moved on. And I don't think that the Predators are just going to, lay down and roll over in Vancouver. And I don't think that they've, thrown their hands up and said, well, we're down 3-1. It's over for us. Because they can't think that way. And I don't think that that's going to be their approach, because what has been kind of the mantra of this team all season, relentless. I don't think that they're just going to give up when they have an opportunity to win tonight. But I also think that Vancouver is looking at an opportunity to not have to come back here. Like, that's a long flight. Willie, you can probably attest to it. You're probably exhausted. The team's exhausted. That's a lot of travel. And Vancouver's going to be playing for that tonight, playing for the opportunity to not have to get on another 4 to 5 hour flight and come back to Bridgestone Arena. They want to just close it out tonight. They're going to be extra motivated tonight as well, not just the Predators.
I think you're going to hear that probably at the morning skate that I'm about to go over to in a little while here. I'm sure that will be tossed out more than once to Rick Tocchet. Hey, you want to avoid that long road trip back over and whatnot. But to what Derek said, I do think that's the essence of a competitor in sports, and that is, can you shake off a really devastating loss? Because that's what it was, right? It was a devastating loss. They were shocked when it went to overtime. You're thinking, in this 15 minutes or 18 minutes of intermission, can you regroup from what just happened? And they didn't, right? They weren't able to get going and get any momentum to start the overtime. And it was so fast, that Lindholm goal, that it just completed a hurricane that went through there, right? They had total control of the game with 3 minutes to go. And then in 4 minutes of play, you lose the game. That is a tough thing to get off the deck from. But that's what, good teams, great competitors are able to do. That's a great challenge of sports. And so let's see what that looks like tonight. You can't try to win 3 games tonight. So all you want to do is get off to a good start tonight and see if you can win 1 game. I think that's what you're going to hear from the Predators locker room. And you go back to game 1. They were in great shape in game 1. They put themselves in very good position. And then in 12 seconds, it turned around. I thought the Predators from that point on were stunned, couldn't mount a whole lot from there until the end of game 1. They came right out in game 2, got the lead, and were able to win game 2. So every game is a new game if you've got the mental toughness to shake off the last game. And I would try, if I'm Andrew Burnett, this would be Coach Willy's advice, and not Worrywart Willy. Worrywart Willy is, just like everybody else, concerned, can they recover from that? Coach Willy would say, look at the numbers. You guys have dominated a really good Canucks team. The favorite, by the way. The Canucks are the favorite in this series. They're the division champion in the Pacific. They had the better team over the course of 82 games. But for large stretches of this series, they have taken the game to the Canucks. They have allowed the fewest shots by a team for 4 games in a series in NHL history. I don't know if you guys heard that. The Canucks have the fewest shots by any team in 4 games of a playoff series in NHL history. That's how well the Predators have defended. So I would cling to that, hey, if you play your game, you're going to have a chance to win. And it's just a matter of just making those winning plays, couple more winning plays, and not necessarily goals, but like at the end of the game, managing the game. They score 1, forget about it. Everybody's going to go back and think, Colton Sissons was 3 inches from putting the game away into the empty net, and nobody would have worried about the last 10 seconds or something like that. But that's the tough part mentally that you have to recover from. But you have to try to cling to the fact that when you play your game, you're good enough to hang and beat a really good Canucks team. And that's all you have to try to do tonight, win 1 game.
And that's the part, Willie, that, just win 1 game. And we've been, because we talked about this yesterday while you're on a plane flying to Vancouver, but we talked about this, that, the Predators basically each game, probably with the exception of maybe 1, let's just give Vancouver 1 game where they just outplayed the Predators, and it probably wasn't the whole game. It was just in phases. But pretty much they've owned this series, meaning the Nashville Predators, but they still find themselves down 3-0. That's why I said I'm not sure what Bruno can do from a schematic standpoint, because Vancouver's coach is telling them, don't worry about anything. Don't worry. I know we've been through 3 goalies. I know we're on our 3rd goalie, but don't worry about anything, because this is the part that I'm embarrassed about right here for the Predators. When a team says, don't worry about anything, just keep the game close because they're going to mess it up, that's embarrassing. That's truly embarrassing, because that's what the Nashville Predators have done. They've messed up the game. Just let's stay within a goal or 2, keep it competitive, because eventually the Nashville Predators will play a 3-minute portion of the game where they're going to mess up, and we can capitalize, and they have capitalized on every mistake that the Nashville Predators have made that have caused them to be down 3-1. That's why I'm looking at the Predators like, I'm not sure, because Vancouver's saying, let's just stick with them. Let's just play head up, because eventually, even if we're down 3-0, we got the third period, they're going to mess the game up and we're going to win. A team shouldn't be saying that about another team. And that's what they're saying. I guarantee you that's what they're saying about the Nashville Predators. They got a good team. They got a good goalie. But eventually, they're going to mess it up, and we're going to capitalize on it, because every game that they've won, the Nashville Predators have basically gave it to them.
Yeah, I don't know if that's fair. I don't think they've given it to them. I think Vancouver has made big plays when those opportunities have come up. I don't know, and I'll meet you halfway. Are there things that,
when I say give it to him, when I say give it to him, Willie, I'm just saying that's a figure of speech in sports. It's like, I know they just literally just lay down and say, here, take the game. But you did things in that game that caused the Vancouver Canucks to come back and win it.
You gave them an inch.
Exactly. You gave them an inch. You gave them one goal. Then you gave them another.
And I think that's what it is.
Then you kind of froze, and you got tense, and then you were not playing relaxed hockey like you were playing prior to them coming back.
I would have to say I have to give some credit to Brock Besser and JT Miller, the guys that are making the plays. Right? They haven't gotten chance after chance after chance. But when they've gotten their chances, they made the most of them. And I think if you break down every goal, just like everything in sports, right, you will look at things on those plays, especially late in the game, the 2 goals that tied it. Were there things that each Predator on the ice probably could have done a little differently? Were they a little too aggressive, maybe, in going after the block shots like they did to protect the lead in Game 2, and maybe overplayed a little bit more, got themselves out of position? Yeah, I think there are definitely things, some decisions that each guy could have done a little bit differently, and you could have found a way to do it. But if everybody was perfect every game, you would never have a great comeback like that. So it's both, right? So you got to credit Besser for making some plays. But I think that's the thing that you can't do now, is harp on, well, why didn't you do this? Where were the Predators to cover the rebound, or where was the backside coverage on the second goal? You could sit there and twist yourself into knots going back through that because it's painful, but I don't know if that helps you win Game 5. I think you got to learn from it and put it behind you and put yourself in a better position to succeed the next time you're in that spot. And these are veteran players. That's the thing. That it's not a bunch of kids that went out there and did that. It was the veteran guys on the ice.
And that's what makes it disappointing.
That lost it. Oh, it's crushing. Yeah. It's crushing, right? There's no way around that. And that's why, I wonder about Vicky Woosley, who is the sports psychologist that travels with the team, and there's been great stories written about her. I wonder what her role has been the last couple of days, trying to, get everybody back in the right mindset to be constructive about it. When you feel that soul-crushing stuff, right? Just like all the fans. Like the players feel that too, right? There's no question. But can you put it behind you?
And I think that maybe one positive thing is, in the Stanley Cup playoffs, one game doesn't necessarily indicate what's going to happen the next game. That it truly is like an Etch-a-Sketch, like Andrew Burnett said, that you paint your little picture, as awful as that picture was in Game 4 for the Predators, shake it off and move on to Game 5. But I think the most concerning thing to me is that the Predators, I felt like, played their best hockey of the playoffs in Games 3 and Games 4, and they couldn't come up with a win. And I cannot count on the Vancouver Canucks continuing to not play their best brand of hockey. Because, let's be honest, Quinn Hughes hasn't been a massive factor in this series. Elias Pettersson hasn't been a massive factor in this series. And I can't continue to rest on the laurels of those 2 star players not continuing to play their best hockey. And to be fair, Roman Josi has not been playing his best hockey. Juuse Saros has not been playing at the level that we are accustomed to seeing Juuse Saros play in the regular season. So, it's I would say, both teams resemble each other. Not that they're not getting the absolute best from their star players. But like you said, Brock Besser finds a way to make plays. Had a hat trick last game. Where's that from the Predators? That's what I want to see. But I do want to continue to get into your phone calls on this, your reaction, not just to Game 4, but also this entire series moving forward. I want to get into one phone call here. Cam's on the line. Phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Go ahead, Cam.
Hey guys.
Hey.
First of all, I'm gonna make a prediction on the Predators. But first of all, I was talking about LeBron. If LeBron was not saying that he wanted to play with Bronny, he would never be drafted. He's not good enough to play in the NBA. That's the only reason any team in the NBA would draft him is so that LeBron will play for them for a couple of seasons.
What's your Preds thought, Cam?
Okay, the Preds thought is if we lose tonight, Saros won't be back next year. He's gone. They will trade him.
All right, well, thanks for your call, Cam. I do think that that's a factor that we're going to have to look into with Saros, because put yourself in the mindset of Saros being on a, let's say, 8-year, $8 million deal. That's probably the ballpark of what he's wanting for that second contract. Mm-hmm. If he was signed to that right now, and this is the playoff performance that you're getting from UC Saros, would you be satisfied? Is UC Saros playing like an $8 million goalie in the playoffs? I mean, he pays dividends in the regular season, but I think that what he does in the playoffs matters. What players do in the playoffs matters. When you're making top dollar, you have to show up when it matters. And he hasn't been playing to the level that I think an $8 million goaltender should in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah, you're right. But listen, I'm going to be full transparent about this. And I'm going to stick with UC. That's just me. I'm sticking with UC. I know he's not playing well, and I have no excuse for him. I can't sit here and try to make it sound make it sound sweet, or I wish there was some type of injury going on that has caused him to play the way that he's playing. I wish there was something outside of what he can do that is causing him to play the way that he's playing, but it's not, and I understand that. But I'm going to be transparent. I'm not getting on UC. Everybody else can get on UC, but I am not. I'm just looking at it from a holistic standpoint. This team has done just about everything possible to win each of their games, and they still find themselves down 3-1. I'm not sure that you can climb yourself out of a hole when you know in your mind we've done just about everything. That's why I said I don't know what Coach Bruno can do from a schematic standpoint, because they've played well. Willie, you said it. I mean, the shots on net are the lowest that they've been for an opposing team. So they're playing good defense.
In the league
exactly.
History.
They're playing good defense and everything else.
But they're still down 3-1.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So what can you do as a head coach other than from a psychological standpoint? And then you talked about the sports psychologist they have on staff. She needs to be getting her money's worth the last couple of days. She does, seriously.
I have no worries about her.
She's going to start working some voodoo spells.
She needs something, because it's not, because I look at it from the standpoint of if I felt there was more Coach Bruno could do. Now, the lineups possibly, but I mean, you risk, when you change a lineup, you risk throwing off the chemistry, whatever chemistry each line has built, you risk throwing that off. Yes, Coach Bruno can do that, I understand. But beside that, what more, and I'm not a hockey guy, but I'm asking Willie, what more can he do as a head coach from a schematic standpoint?
Well, let's get into that coming up next.
Let's come back on the other side. I want to address the Saros question, because it is a really big question, and the question of, do you change the lineup at all with the series back in Vancouver?
I think
let's get to that on the other side.
I think that's key, because there is one in particular that I'm thinking, all right, you've had enough chances now. You haven't been delivering on those chances. So we'll get into that coming up next. And I see a bunch of phones on our phones and text lines, so we are right to those coming up next as well. Caroline, Willie, DMase were brought to you by Zen Sports. Start earning cash rewards on your bets today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and in Tennessee to bet.
Andrew, in your experience as a player and a coach, when you're on a team facing elimination, what have you found to be the best approach?
Well, I think sort of etch-a-sketch, goldfish kind of mentality, and you go in and you had to win a game in there regardless, and you just go win one. And everything is, all the focus, all the effort is just about tomorrow night. Doesn't matter how you got here. This is playoff hockey. Things happen fast. Things change fast, and let's change the narrative tomorrow.
Etch-a-sketch, goldfish, short-term memory, whatever coaching cliche you want to use, the Predators are going to have to take that approach. And frankly, I feel like they already are. I think that they want to forget about Game 4 as quickly as they possibly can, but they've got an opportunity tonight. Game 5 in Vancouver, 9 o'clock puck drop, but probably more like 9:15, 9:30. So get your coffee in. Caroline, Willy, DMase, Willy Donick joins us from Vancouver. I do want to get into the discussion of, is now the time that you make some of those changes. We talked about this early in the series of maybe a player that didn't look very good. Tommy Novak has been probably the poster child of the roster change conversation. And I would always couch that with, well, be sure that you're making that change at the right time. You don't want to make a change too quickly and go away from what got you there. We're now 4 games in, and I feel like now is a fair conversation and a fair time to say it's all in on tonight. It's a must-win game. Is tonight the night that you push all the chips in the middle of the table and start to make some of those changes? I do want to get into that, but first I want to get into some of your thoughts. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll get into your Preds thoughts all show long. Gover's on the line with a Preds thought. What's up, Gover?
What's up, guys? I haven't called it in a while, but I've got to pick DMase's brain. DMase, you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I know football players don't play in best-of series. Okay, I get that. But you are a former pro athlete who was around a lot of different personalities in your various locker rooms. So you're the closest person we can ask that is not an invested party, if you will. So Predators are down 3-1, but again, if they win, and then if they win that game, they have to travel all the way back to Vancouver to try to win another game. So my question is, what percentage of guys that you played with would have already been looking not forward to the summer? I'm not saying that bluntly, but I mean, what percentage of guys that you played with would not be in the balls to the wall, absolute maximum energy, knowing that is the landscape of the series, right?
Oh, wow. Thank you for the call. Some of it I heard, some of it I didn't, because he was kind of breaking up in and out. But the gist of it was, I think it was saying how many of the guys that I believe that I played with would basically mail it in if they were in this situation that the Predators find themselves in. I would love to believe it would be 100% of the guys that wouldn't mail it in, but I understand that personalities are different. People, investments are different. So I'm sure, because, hell, listen, I've seen where, we've been out of the playoffs by, the 12th week, and guys changed their habits on, what time they come in, what time they lift weights. It's like they're lagging behind. It's coming into meetings a minute late or 2 minutes late.
What is this all for?
Exactly. So that I have seen. So I can't say that, as much as I would love to, that 100% of the guys would just say, hey, listen, nothing else matters but the next game, especially in a situation like this. So, I think majority of the guys would, look at it from the standpoint of, we got as long as we got another game, we got an opportunity to extend the series. That's as long as we got an opportunity to go back on that field, we got an opportunity to extend the series, and we're going to take advantage of that until we can't take advantage of it no more. I do believe that majority of the guys in the locker room would feel that way, but I'm sure there will be outliers that would be ready to get on a plane and go to Cancun. We all know the 1, 2, 3, Cancun on 3. So we all know about that. But I would tend to believe that majority of the guys would, think, hey, listen, let's give it our all and see what happens.
And look, it's one thing if you're out of the playoffs, you got 3 games left in the season, you're kind of mailing it in. But it's a completely different story when you're in the playoffs and you're down 3-1 and you are fighting for your lives.
Yeah.
Like that, I think, is a different story. But again, the Predators head out to Vancouver for Game 5 tonight, down 3-1 in the series. It's a must-win. You lose, you're out. Cancun on 3. So, Willy, is it time for lineup changes? I think that the first person that comes to mind when we talk about potential lineup changes is Tommy Novak. That he just hasn't been acclimating to the speed and the physicality of the playoffs. That he hasn't been a non-factor, really. It's been more so like he just hasn't been very good in this series. And when you're facing a must-win game, an elimination game, you need production up and down the lineup. Is it time for lineup changes tonight?
Well, I think you hit on the one that I think they would have to contemplate. Honestly, I don't know that you would change anything else. I think you might see a bigger, stronger centerman in there, especially with the series back in Vancouver. It hasn't been. It was lopsided 5-on-5. It was flat out lopsided. The Predators taking the game to the Canucks. Now the Canucks defend as well as any team. As we've talked about, they make it hard to get to their goalie. That's why they've been able to sneak wins with their second and third goalies out there. And those guys have played pretty well. Can the Predators get a little more quality chance? Can they make another play or two where it doesn't matter who the goalie is? That's, I think, what they're looking for offensively. But I think it's fair to say that in Vancouver, it's going to be harder to dominate 5-on-5 like they did in Nashville with the matchups, the crowd, all of that. And let's hope that they can continue to do the things they did well. But Novak is a playmaker, but he has not been able to really get himself in position to make very many plays in the series so far. So I think they might take a look there. But I don't think you're going to see any changes beyond that. I think that's the one that they might look at, and I don't know. They could come back with Novak tonight. We'll find out when we go over there. But for Grover's question, I'm not worried about that at all, the mail it in thing. I think if they had that gene in them, they would have mailed it in when the U2 trip was canceled. I think if they had that in their DNA, they would have checked out on the season right then and there, and you would have seen what they're made of. But I think that told you everything you need to know about this team. I am not worried about that in the least. If they go down tonight, they're going to go down with their best effort. And they could lose 5-0 tonight, and I still would not question their effort and their commitment, their standard to be the best they can be. It has been a great season, a season I didn't think they were capable of, especially, and I'm going to tie it in with the Saros question, in a season, if you told me before the year that UC Saros would have the lowest numbers he's ever had, and they're going to still have 99 points and get into the playoffs, I would have said, how are they going to do that? I don't believe you. But they've done it. The Saros question will be a big question in the offseason. And what happens tonight, and if they can extend the series, will go into their evaluation of Saros. There's no question about it. And he's not coming off a great season. But it was going to be a question no matter what the outcome of the season were. They were going to have to address his contract this summer anyway, so that is coming, right? So get ready for a preview of coming attractions. We'll have plenty of time to discuss that.
And I'm reluctant to get too into that conversation right now because we got a game tonight. Like, I don't want to talk about the future. I don't want to talk about contracts while they are still firmly in the playoffs, but it is something to keep in mind and something that will absolutely continue to get into in the conversation once the Predators are no longer in the playoffs. But it is something to keep in mind, and I think something that's probably at the forefront of Barry Trotz's mind. What you do in the playoffs should matter. It should play some sort of, some sort of role into how Barry Trotz wants to build this team for the future. And look, if they go into this game and just roll over, and I don't think that they will, but then you got much bigger problems on your hands. If you go into a Game 5 facing elimination and you just throw your hands up and give up, that's not why you bring in the serial winners. That's not what we've seen from this team the entirety of the season. But I think that there's never been a question of effort from this team, at least from me, and I don't think from anyone. Look at that Vegas game when they came back and won it in overtime. That's not throwing your hands up, and when it would be so easy to say, okay, we had a great winning streak, and we're just gonna, we're not gonna win this one. No, I don't think that this team has that in their DNA. But I will say, Willy, one thing that concerned me in Game 4, I think we saw it in Game 1 as well. When they had that comfortable lead, 3-1 in the third period in Game 4, I felt like they started to play tight. Not that they gave up, not that they threw their hands up.
What? Tell me where you saw that.
Once Vancouver scored to make it 3-2, I felt like they played nervous. I felt like they played not to win, but to not lose.
I thought you were talking about when they went up 3-1, because they completely dominated the full. After they went up 3-1, I thought they continued to push. Would you agree with that?
100%.
Vancouver
I would
didn't get a shot. So we're talking about with 3 minutes left.
I'm talking about, when Vancouver made it 3-2, because I'm saying you go into the third period up 3-1, you're feeling good. Then once Vancouver scored to make it 3-2, I felt like everybody got a little tight. Everybody got a little anxious.
That's natural. But I thought there was a lot of time that went off between. So it was 2:49 left. Is that right? The goal was at 17:11. Does that make 2:49 left when it became 3-2? So they got from 2:49 to 6 seconds, and they didn't give up another shot. There was no shots in between. So they defended well there for 2 minutes. They had the goal right there, wide open, and Sissons missed it. I think he's going to make that 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, and then we wouldn't even talk about the last 10 seconds. So I thought they did fine in between the two goals. Mm-hmm. It definitely the energy changes when a 2-goal lead goes back to 1. They always say it's the worst lead in hockey, a 2-goal lead, because as soon as it becomes 1, everybody does get much more nervous. Oh, it's only 1.
Yeah.
So I think we can pick apart everything that happened in the last 3 minutes until we're, we could overanalyze that. I didn't think that. I thought they handled it, other than the 2 plays, just fine. They had opportunities to score into the empty net. They had the one in particular, and they just didn't do it. But I don't know. I think we're nitpicking a little bit if we're getting into that part, because I think the biggest part was that when they were ahead 3-1, they didn't nurse the lead. They were taking the game to Vancouver. If anything, you could criticize them for not getting the 4th goal. That was something that Roman Josi said after the game. We missed the chance to make it 4-1 and really put it away. Like, it would have been game, set, match. I don't even think Vancouver would have bothered to pull the goalie if they got it to 4-1. That's what I would be looking at.
Yeah.
Is how do you get to that mode? When they started stringing together wins, we talked about this team all year long. They've gotten plenty of scoring chances, but they've have had some drought scoring. But when they've been red hot, all of a sudden the Michael McCarrons, the Kiefer Sherwoods, the Colton Sissons, those guys start scoring, right? And all of a sudden you're getting 4 or 5 goals a game. But they are not great. They don't have a ton of finishers on the team other than Forsberg, Josi, and to an extent Nyquist and O'Reilly, right? But that's kind of the weakness. That's what they want to upgrade in the coming years.
Well, I understand what Caroline is saying, because it happened in Game 1 where they're up 2-1 entering in the third period, and then Vancouver reels off 3 goals, and they end up losing 2-4. Then it happens again the other day. These are things we do need to be concerned about. They may be small things that Predators may be playing well throughout, majority of the game, but there are these spots within every game that they have that, for whatever reason, I don't know what goes on, but Vancouver sure does find a loophole in whatever they're doing and manages to come back. So we can say, I'm not, but it's happened before. Mm-hmm. So if it's happened before, this is the second time. What's to say it's not going to happen a third time if you don't take care of it? So I am a little bit concerned about that.
They've had a lot. People have pointed out they've had a lot of 2-goal leads in games that they have lost. Mm-hmm. Especially most of them were early in the season before they really found their groove. But unfortunately, it's rendered itself here in the series where they've had lapses and they've given up 2 goals relatively close together. I would 100% agree with you, Caroline, if there were a barrage of shots in the last 3 minutes where all of a sudden they stopped trying to push. But between the second and third goals, I don't think there was a whole lot that they gave up. I thought they kept going in the right direction, and it was just unfortunate. The 2 plays. Really, the 3 plays, the 2 goals that went in, and in between, Sissons' missed opportunity to put it in the empty net. Those were the 3 things. that all went Vancouver's way.
And that's all it can take in the Stanley Cup playoffs. 12
Absolutely.
seconds in game one,
Yeah.
3 minutes in game four to blow a 3-1 lead. But I do have to say, I can't put all of that on Colton Sissons. I mean, it was like pitchforks and, lanterns coming after Colton Sissons. There's a lot of missed opportunities. Obviously, yes, that empty netter, you want to see him put the puck in the back of the net, and maybe we're talking about a 2-2 series instead of a 3-1 series. But it's not just Colton Sissons. Missed opportunities around.
Oh.
But those are things that again, I go back to this before we go on break. Those are goals he has to make. I don't care what nobody tells me. I know, like I said yesterday, Caroline, I know it was a hard goal. I couldn't do it. You couldn't do it.
Yeah,
Willie couldn't do it.
It's not as easy as it looks.
Exactly.
It's not as easy as
but
it looks.
he's a professional player.
Right.
And Willie said it. 9 times out of 10, he's going to make that goal. So I gotta believe he should have made. He more than anybody else. The game wasn't his fault it wasn't his fault that they lost Sissons. It wasn't because they were still up. But I guarantee you Sissons is sitting back like, damn.
Oh, I bet he's miserable.
I had an opportunity to end this game, and I didn't. It wasn't his fault, but he feels that he cost them the game. He's a competitor. All competitors think that way. If you had an opportunity to sort of end the game, then and you missed, whether it be a catch on a touchdown, a catch on a on a third down, or missing a wide open net. It was a difficult shot, but he should have made it. That's the way I look at it.
Fair. It is a game day, so it is your day. So we are right to you coming up next, right into your phone. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you have a thought, Caroline, Willy, DMase, 1025-1063 The Game.
All right, let's talk Loan Pronto. They do such a good job getting people in a better position to be 100% debt-free from credit cards, car loans, and personal loans. In other words, loans that have really high interest rates where the money you're paying monthly piles up month after month after month. It's hard to rein in sometimes. So the tool you can use through Loan Pronto is your home's equity. Your home's value is up. And so you can use that home equity to get cash out of your home through the Express Equity line of credit. The Express Equity line of credit through Loan Pronto gets you that money fast, and then you take it and you pay that credit card bill, that car loan, that personal loan that has a high interest rate. And you can get that money fast through Loan Pronto's AI-based system. You can get it pain-free. It's very easy. It used to be such a hassle to do this. Not anymore. Not with Loan Pronto. So you can get thousands of dollars out of your home. You can get it quick and then get yourself in a better financial position. Call now, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. You can get approved in as little as 10 minutes. 615-499-5780. NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval. Equal housing lender.
Caroline, Willy, DMase. We'll catch up with Tim Hasselbeck, ESPN NFL analyst, at the top of the hour. But now, right to your thoughts on the Predators Game 5 tonight. Willy Donick joins us from Vancouver. Ray is on the line with a Preds thought. What's up, Ray?
Hey, guys. How you guys doing today?
Good.
Doing good.
Just quick thoughts about the Preds. I hear so many people for the way he's playing right now. But here's some things that we've got to consider. You know, during the regular season, you're playing a wide variety of teams. You're playing some of the lesser teams. You're playing some of the upper teams. But right now, you're playing an elite Vancouver team game after game after game. If you watch the goals that they have scored, I don't know if there's necessarily been a quote-unquote weak goal in the bunch. You've got Vancouver that has 4 or 5 of elite players in this league. You have 3 guys that I think were in the top 20 in points. You have 3 guys that were in the top 20 in goal scoring. And you're facing these guys game after game. They're moving the puck side to side really well. And a goalie that has to go to his left and then immediately has to try to shift back to his right or vice versa, 9 times out of 10, these guys are going to hit the net and they're going to score on those plays. And that's what they're doing. And we have had some bad breaks, you know, rebounds, block shots that are going right to their guys, and they're picking up the puck and putting it in. But I don't think we've had any weak goals. Also, we've been playing great, you know. Like we know, nobody gave us a chance all season to make the playoffs. We got in the playoffs. We're playing an elite team. And again, we're playing an elite team game after game, and we're playing well. Like everyone has said, we easily could have been up 3-1 instead of down 3-1 in this series.
Yeah, thanks. All great points, and thank you for your call, Ray. To the point about nobody expected us to be here, I don't want to hear that because, like the caller just said, you did have every opportunity to be up 3-1 in this series. And it was 12 seconds in game 1 and a couple of late goals in game 4 that took it to overtime, and you ultimately lost in overtime. But a couple of things happen here and there, and you're up 3-1. So I don't want to – it's not like you're just getting walloped and dominated every single game. This is a very evenly matched series. So I don't want to hear we're not supposed to be here and nobody expected us to be here.
Because you're here now.
In the grand scheme of the season.
It was true before the season, and I think it's still true now. But I think when you're in the trenches of a series, you're definitely trying to say, well, how have they stacked up? And I do think, you know, if you're just being conservative, the series probably ought to be 2-2 when you get down to it. And I think you could take issue with the first goal that Saros gave up in the series. Since then, I don't think there's been a soft goal. It's been a weird series to evaluate a goalie when you face so few shots. I think UC Saros has thrived, as crazy as it sounds, when he gets a lot of shots. Sometimes you see his greatness in games where he's tested 40 some odd times. I think it's a very big challenge. Chris Mason points this out a lot during broadcast. When you don't see a shot for 10 minutes and all of a sudden you see a really tough shot, like the caller was saying, cross-ice passes, lateral movement involved, sometimes that's a tough way to have to play goalie, but that's the job, right?
That's what you get paid for. But again, I'm not. I don't want to get on. I told you. Me personally, I am not addressing Saros. I think Saros is fine. Does he need to play better? Absolutely. But I'm not going to address that. But to what Caroline was saying, Willie, I mean, yes, it comes a point where you have to forget about we wasn't supposed to be here. I guarantee you the Predator players are not saying we're not supposed to be here. So with that being said, they have to find a way to not just win this game, because I think every game that they play, well, I know they've been in a position to win, probably with the exception of game 2. But every other game, they've been either leading going into the third period, or they've been dominating the game. Just, you know, the score may be close or tied, but they've been dominating the game. So if that is indeed the case, what is it that you need to do further? This is why I'm concerned, because they have played good hockey if you didn't know the Nashville Predators record and that they barely got in the playoffs, and you were just watching this game,
I don't know if they barely got in the playoffs.
No, what I'm saying is they didn't have to go on that 18-point run to basically put themselves in a position where they separated themselves from the other few teams that were sort of bunched in there, fighting for that last.
Separated.
Right,
exactly.
Separated from the pack. From the pack. They
Absolutely.
Separated.
So you've done that. We understand. We don't want to hear no more, you're not supposed to be there, because they're there. They did everything they were supposed to do to get there. And if you didn't know their record, judging by this playoff series, you would think the Predators were the better team. But for some strange reason, they've given up opportunities, or they've given Vancouver opportunities to tie and then take the lead, whether it be in overtime or in regulation. And to me, that's the frustrating part. And I'm sure that's the frustrating part with them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's got to be the mentality is, look, if you're in that locker room, you say, guys, we've played way too well to go down in 5 games. We've done too many good things. Let's button up the little details, right? We need one more winning play, whether it's one more save, whether it's focusing and making sure you hit that empty net, whether it's you get that window or you get that one chance to score, you bury that thing. You don't miss the net. And everybody wants that, right? But that's or it's also the focus when you're trying to protect the lead. Am I blocking the shot? Let's not overplay. Let's have that right mentality. Loose and focused. That's all they have to do. But it's easier said than done, right? Vancouver's a really good team. You never know what's going to happen in the next game.
Willie D, you're headed out to morning skate, so have a great call tonight. We're sending good juju your way.
All right, please do. Please do. Let's see if they can survive and come back and see what happens in Game 6.
Is it cold up there,
That's
Willie?
the goal. It's pretty cold.
You look awfully bundled up.
Yeah, you do.
Well, yeah, I'm about to walk over to the rink. It's beautiful. It's not raining, thank goodness. That's always a concern in Vancouver. But
what's the temperature?
Yeah, it's a little chilly. Let's see what it is. It's in the 40s, I think.
Hey, Willie, it's like 70, 80 degrees here.
It is officially 47. 47. So
nice spring day in Canada.
Yes.
I'm going to layer it up.
All right, Willie. Well, we appreciate your time this morning, and hopefully be talking about some good news tomorrow, but we shall see. Have a good call tonight.
Big positive. Okay, guys.
All right, Willie.
Coach Willie.
Is the game on, and I meant to ask Willie, is the game Bally tonight as well?
It'll be on Bally tonight as well.
It is on Bally.
ESPN.
Okay, good.
All right. Tim Hasselbeck, our friend, ESPN NFL analyst, will join us coming up next. We'll get Tim's reaction to the NFL draft, his thoughts on the J.C. Latham and Devondre Sweat picks. We'll get into that coming up next with Tim, Caroline, Willie, DMase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Caroline, Willy, DMase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and The Game Nashville app. We're streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. And we're broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. So the NFL draft is behind us. Joining us now to break it all down is Tim Hasselbeck, ESPN NFL analyst, and of course, head coach of the Ensworth Tigers. Tim, J.C. Latham is the Titans' first-round pick at number 7. Ran Carthon said even though he played right tackle at Alabama, he intends to swing him over to left tackle. What was your initial impression of the pick, and what gives you confidence, if at all, that J.C. Latham can make that transition to the left side?
So I guess I would have to go back a few picks. Not to say that I was like totally surprised that the Chargers went with Joe Alt.
No, I'm surprised.
I think that it definitely was like, oh, okay, like there you go. But I've said it to you guys before, like, listen, whether you go 5 or 7, like, look, if you're good enough to go at 7, then you should be good enough to go at 5. And we maybe talk team need and things of that nature. But like from the time Jim Harbaugh coached it, San Diego to Stanford to the Niners, like he likes to run the football. So that's obviously the direction he was headed. In terms of Latham, like he obviously is a huge man that has, that played well at the college level. Now to move from right to left, I think we talked a little bit about it last week. I think it's hard. I think that it shouldn't be a given. And I think sometimes people think, all right, we'll try to swing you over there, and if it doesn't work, then we'll just move you back. And so I don't really know what the true belief on it is, but I think it's harder than advertised. And, that would generally be my concern, but he's obviously a super talented guy.
And then the second round pick, Devondre Sweat, the defensive tackle out of Texas. And the reports were a lot of general managers dropped him down on their boards, if not took him off entirely, just given the DWI 2 weeks before the draft. And then, of course, the concerns about his playing weight at Texas. A lot of the commentary, at least nationally, has been that the Titans reached for their first two rounds of the draft. J.C. Latham at 7 and then Devondre Sweat at 38. What are your thoughts on, quote unquote, reaching in the draft? Because I know some might say, well, if you love the players, it doesn't matter where you take him. But some might say, well, the value is important in the draft, especially when you're drafting as high as the Titans were.
Yeah, I think a lot of times if people say the reach, somebody's a reach, they say it based on, what mock drafts were. And look, I think we know, just you look at if you just look at mock drafts and you look at them after the draft, like a lot of times they're off, right? And like not everybody knows, the rankings on people's boards. Like I know probably a lot of people have said, hey, well, that's a reach for Michael Penix. Well, I mean, clearly not for Atlanta, because that's where they had him. Or look, Spencer Rattler goes in the 5th round. Like had someone taken Spencer Rattler in the 3rd round, like would anyone have been saying like, hey, that was a reach? Like I don't think they would. And so I think that the hard part on saying something is a reach is you don't always know. Like it just really takes one other team to like a player. And you're also trying to forecast what you think a team will do based on their visits, based on what you think that team need is, like all those different factors. And so like, I just don't know that we ever really know when something was truly a reach or not, because I'll just give you this quick example. When Tim Tebow was drafted, like I was talking to a head coach that same year that they would have taken Tebow in the late 20s. So like people say, oh, hey, that was a reach. It was like, well, somebody else was going to do it too. So maybe they both were reaching, but if somebody else is interested in doing it and you want the player, then you just have to trust your evaluation at that point.
We'll talk with Tim Hasselbeck, ESPN NFL analyst and head coach of the Ensworth Tigers. Now, Tim, are you surprised that there were 6 quarterbacks that were drafted in the top 12 of this year's draft? Because, before the draft, it was a definite 2. There was a possibility that 3 could get drafted in the top 5, but we knew at least 2 would, and 3 would get drafted in the top 10. but there were 6. Are you surprised by that?
I am, and here's why I would say it. Look, Caleb Williams had, uncommon, playmaking ability, but not a perfect prospect. 6'1", 214 pounds, honestly, smaller than me when I came out. Then you get Jaden Daniels, it's a similar thing. He's this tall and lean player, and you guys know how I felt about Drake May. That one is the one that made sense to me. Michael Penix Jr., the injury, history on him is so long that you'd think, well, shoot, that's got to factor into it somewhere. I think that, some of the interest in McCarthy, became obvious as things, played out through the evaluation process. And then you go to Bo Nix, a similar thing, a guy that was run out of one school because he wasn't playing great. He's listed at literally the exact measurements I came out at. And I'm using me as the comp because, I went undrafted. Typically, DMase, and you know this, the guys that are top 10 picks, top 12 picks, they look and feel the part in every which way. And, I think what's so interesting about this draft is that, there are 6 guys, and I think you can make the argument that at least 4 of them don't really fit the bill.
Now, do you think that was because they looked at next year's draft and they felt like these teams, whether it be Denver or Minnesota or Atlanta, especially Atlanta, because they just signed Kirk Cousins, they looked at next year's draft and thought, listen, this year's quarterback group is better than what next year's quarterback group looks like right now. So we need to take our guy this year as opposed to trying to wait next year to get the guy there, and he may not even be there.
Yeah, I think that definitely could be part of it. Because, you're right. We don't know. All right, how good is Quinn Ewers going to be? And, who are the other guys that are in the mix with him? And they'll, just like there is every year, there'll be a surprise guy that finds himself into the mix because, he has a crazy year and he's draft eligible. So I think that's part of it. They're probably just a volume of guys that had played good football at the college level and felt like good prospects. And then I think, part of it is you did and then have to say, okay, where do we think we'll be picking? And that's obviously hard to project, but, if you're the Atlanta Falcons, with the talent they have on offense, which is really good, with what we think they'll be on defense, and then you add Kirk Cousins, who's basically penciled in for, 28 to 30 touchdowns, fewer than 10 interceptions, 4,500 yards. You're probably not going to have a top 12 pick. And so I think that has a lot to do with why they decided to draft Penix, just because I don't think they believe that they're going to be bad with Cousins playing in an offense that he knows so well.
Now, Tim, we'll talk with Tim Hasselbeck, ESPN NFL analyst and head coach of the Innsworth Tigers. Now, looking at this draft, which teams, and I'm not asking you to grade the draft because I think it's truly hard to grade so early, but what you can do is look at a team and say, okay, based upon their needs, the guys they drafted, they should have gotten it right. So based upon what I just said, which team do you think right now got it right? And do you think the Titans are a part of your list of teams that you feel got it right as we speak now?
I think in the current, I think it's fair to say, the Titans got it right where they are. If you just go, hey, look, they need to get better on the offense and defensive line. That's where they started. They're going to try to see, what they have in Will Levis. So for them, I think you have to say, yeah, look, you did what, you should do. That makes sense to me. I'll be honest with you. I actually feel I think in some ways Atlanta got it right. Mm-hmm. Do I really think Atlanta's a Super Bowl, team this year? I don't really, to be honest. And so with that being the case, what matters to that new regime there? Is that they're great this year, or they're set up to have some success years 3, 4, 5, 6, and whatever? That to me, I think, matters more. So, yeah, I think you just look at, like, some of those situations where you can say, yeah, like, it's fair to say, like, look, I feel like they got it right. And then I think it's fair to say you look at some other spots and say, look, the draft probably didn't go the way they wanted it to go. Like, I look at the Raiders. I love Brock Bowers. Mm-hmm. But there's no way they thought that they weren't going to get a quarterback early on. Like, I just can't think that they thought that all the quarterbacks would be gone before it got to them.
We're talking with ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck. So now that we're done with the 2024 draft, moving on to the 2025 draft, all of the way too early mock drafts have come out. And of course, like this time last year, we weren't talking about Jaden Daniels as a top 3 prospect. So many things change in a year. But what I was more so looking at is, where do some of these insiders project the Titans to pick? Not who they're going to pick, but where they're going to pick. And my goodness, Tim, there is not a lot of optimism for this Titans team. Nearly every single way too early mock draft that I have seen has the Titans either drafting in the top 3 or trading up to pick in the top 3 to take a quarterback. And I can't help but think that's a direct indictment on Will Levis. That the national media doesn't believe in Will Levis, that they expect the Titans to be bad and to be picking a quarterback. What is your impression of Will Levis through, the small sample size that we have of him? And what do you think are fair expectations for Will Levis with, Calvin Ridley being added to the receiving corps and what we believe to be an upgraded offensive line and an upgraded offensive line coach?
Yeah, I would say this about Levis. I think that he changed my perception of him, from the preseason into the regular season. Typically speaking, guys, don't, struggle in the preseason or have missed opportunities in the preseason and then get an opportunity during the year and play well. So, and I think that, he, was it perfect? No, but did he show enough promise? Yeah, I think that he did. And so, what is a reasonable expectation? Like, if you just look at the sample size of 9 games last year where he throws, 8 touchdowns and 4 picks and under 2,000 yards, if you just were to say, all right, let's go ahead and let's just double the games. So if he throws for under 4,000 yards, 16 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, that won't get it done in terms of having the job the following year. It just won't. So, is that realistic? Yeah, I actually think that's realistic. But what do I think needs to happen in order for him to have the job going into the following season? I think he needs to play way better than that. He probably needs to, he needs to be, right around 4,000 yards. He probably needs to have over 25 touchdowns. He probably needs to have, fewer than 10 interceptions. And if he does that, then I think there'll be a chance that he's a starting quarterback going into the following season.
And what do you make of the AFC South as a whole? It's crazy how just 1 year ago we were talking about it being probably the worst division, one of the worst divisions in the National Football League. Now it might be one of the most competitive.
I would agree with that. Here's kind of how I see the division, how I think people will end up talking about the division. Everybody is going to love Houston. Everyone is, just because the quarterback played well, first-year head coach. Just the assumption is that, everybody in Houston is going to be better. Whether that ends up being true or not, we'll see. Most likely it's not. But, that's the expectation, is that, that they are the darling and everyone's going to love them. Mm-hmm. And then it's always going to be tempting to look in Jacksonville and say, man, there's a lot to like about the folks in Jacksonville. So you have that. And then you have, oh, by the way, Anthony Richardson, let's not have out of sight, out of mind. What do you think that he will be as a player? And so I think just the momentum in the division, and I think that people would probably rank them in that order that I just went through. Mm-hmm. And I think that the people would put the Titans, last. I think that is how the division will be viewed. I do think it's a competitive division, but not the most competitive division. And I think the Titans have their work cut out for them.
And Tim Hasselbeck is with us, just based off of what we know now, because I know that we can couch all of this with, we'll see in October and November when we see it in the field. But just right now, where the Titans stand, do you think that it's more likely that Will Levis has a solid season and begins to give us more hope and optimism that he is a franchise quarterback? or that the Titans will be looking for a new quarterback in the 2025 draft?
I mean, I think it's more likely that they're looking for a new quarterback. Now, saying that, I just would also say this. I think that what they're going to do offensively, just kind of what they're going to hang their hat on, the fact that the talent, I think, is a little bit more proven. Look, I think there is a good chance. Like those benchmarks I talked about of, north of 25 touchdown passes and all that. Like, I think that's very doable in this offense, for Will Levis. And so I do think there's a chance that he plays well in it. So I just would say, like, look, are you taking, like, Will Levis as the future or the field? Like, I think most people would say, well, like, I would take the field just because of the history of guys not drafted in the first round and how their opportunities typically go. But like, this to me is different than like Aiden O'Connell in Las Vegas. Like, I don't think there's any shot he's their quarterback next year. And I actually think he's a pretty good player. But I do think that there is a decent shot that it is Will Levis going forward in Tennessee.
Tim, I hear there is spring practice on Saturday.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go. We got a little orange and black, on both sides of the ball. We're, getting set up. It's going to be good. We had middle school spring ball yesterday.
Okay. You see some good prospects in the middle school?
Turnout.
Did you see some good prospects?
Bunch of great prospects.
Okay.
Bring them out to the high school.
Hey, listen, they're going to want NIL, so you better get that pocket full.
Well, listen, and that's why, I'm going to reach out to some, prominent alum parents of the school, like Derek Mason,
Get your checkbook ready, DMase.
Oh, man, I've been happy to help you, Tim. I'll be happy to help you. So, as long as we winning.
That's why, hey, first, top of my list, Derek Mason, can't hide money. Can't hide it.
I've got orange slices and Gatorade to donate. That's all I can offer.
There you go.
That's
Take anything. Anything helps.
No, good stuff.
Tim Hasselbeck, ESPN NFL analyst. Tim, good luck on Saturday. Appreciate you for stopping by, and we'll catch up next week.
You got it. See you guys.
Yep.
Appreciate it, Tim. Tim Hasselbeck, are you going out there on Saturday?
Yeah, I think I have an NFL alumni thing to do, I believe, Saturday. I don't know what time it is. I need to check my schedule. But if it's not early, then I think we should ask him what time it started. I would assume it starts in the morning.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Unless Tim wants to be one of those tough coaches, starts at like 2 p.m.
In the middle of where it's just hot.
In the middle of the heat.
The sun is at its peak and no water, salt pills, that's it.
Yeah. When I was in the NFL, this is how we did it. We won championships.
No, that's how your dad did it, not you.
It was your dad's NFL.
And they'll have the water troughs off to the side. That's all you get. Yeah. Been there.
Yeah. I have not. I will say I have not, but I can only imagine. All right, we will react to what Tim had to say there. Very interesting. You take Will Levis as the franchise quarterback or the field. He's taking the field. We'll react to that coming up next. Plus, I do want to get DMase's thoughts on something that Rand Carthon said on our station yesterday. How much are we going to let ourselves be optimistic about this? Is it almost the boy who cried wolf at this point, or is there still a shred of optimism? We'll get into that coming up next, and we are to your phones all show long. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Caroline, Willy, DMase, we're brought to you by Zen Sports. Start earning cash rewards on your bets today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and in Tennessee to bet.
obviously, Traylon Burks a high pick for you guys, and I know that happened before you were here, but the production hasn't really been there in his career to this point. What have you seen from Traylon to this point in the offseason, and what do you think it's going to take to get him going as you guys head into next season?
I mean, Traylon's having a really good offseason. His attitude and his approach, to the offseason has been excellent. He's been here every day. He's, working extremely hard, especially with our new strength and conditioning staff, led by Zach Woodfin, and now, him getting with Coach Tobert. The arrow's pointing up on Traylon. Like I said, he's having a really good offseason. And, the big thing for Traylon is staying healthy. Staying out there and giving him more opportunities to get the ball. But I like where Traylon is right now.
That was Titans general manager on Robbie and Rex Road yesterday morning. Caroline, Willy, DMase. Hey, tune in to 94.9 The Fan today as Vanderbilt baseball takes on Tennessee Tech with the pregame at 5:45 p.m. and first pitch at 6 p.m. Vanderbilt baseball brought to you by Smoky Mountain Tops, your countertop experts. Visit SmokyMountainTops.com. So you heard Rand Carthon saying there, Traylon's having a great offseason. Arrow is trending up. All positive things that Rand is saying about Traylon Burks. I also saw some comments that Brian Callahan made that went viral of him just gushing about Traylon Burks' offseason. And I know that Titans fans are going to latch on to that. And I kind of approach it, have you ever been through a bad relationship and they just continue to disappoint you every single time? And you say, not this time. I'm not going to take you back this time. But then you always just get pulled back in. I'm going to change. I promise. This time's different. I can change him. And then at some point you're like, no, you've done this to me too many times. And I can't go back to you. That's how I feel about Traylon Burks. Right now, I'm making this rule for myself. And you can make it for yourself, too.
It's the Traylon Burks rule?
It's the Traylon Burks ex-boyfriend rule. That I'm not convinced that this time is different. That there's nothing that you can say to me that how great his offseason has been and how much the arrow is trending up and how great he looks and how hard he's working. Look, I'm sure he is working hard. But I cannot believe it until I see it. Because I believed it last offseason. I did. I thought he was doing everything right. He took the Cessna plane back for OTAs. That he told us everything that he's been doing in the offseason. He stuck around in Nashville and had a very regimented plan. He looked different. He sounded more confident. I was sipping the Kool-Aid. And I know it was the injuries that set him back. But for whatever reason it was, he just couldn't stay on the field. And best ability is availability. So I know that there's probably some Titans fans holding on to that hope that Rand Carthon is giving us of Traylon Burks' positive offseason and how good he looks, and I'm sure he does. But my Traylon Burks ex-boyfriend rule, I can't keep going back to you. Not until I see it. Not then can I believe it.
And listen, I'm not going to be a Traylon Burks apologist. I'm not. But I do believe in a kid. Now, listen, I can't try to sort of gloss over or, repaint the picture that he's already painted up until this point. It is what it is. But I do see things in him that makes me believe that he can be a player in this league. Now, I'm not saying that he can be an elite player. I'm just saying he can be a guy that can play in this league, that can give you the contribution that you need to win ball games. I look at his last 5 games of the season. He had no more than 3 targets in every game. The last 5 games of the season, he had no more than 3 targets. You draft a person in the first round, and he's playing out there, and he's playing the plays, and he's not taking – and you only target him 3 times, I'm glad that last coaching staff is gone. I really am glad they're gone. Good riddance to all of them. They're good people. I'm not talking about them as people. Good people, I know. I'm sure they are. But when I look at stuff like this, yeah, y'all needed to go. We need to get another regime in here that can take the talent that they have and use it. For so long with Tajay Spears, his first year, where in the hell is Tajay Spears? Why y'all not using him the way y'all should? And then all of a sudden, they start using him. It's almost like they were picking and choosing. Like, okay, this is your game today. This is your game this week. This is your game. No, figure out who your playmakers are and let them make plays. When you draft a guy in the first round and he has made plays for you, but then you only target him no more than 3 times in the last 5 games of the season, no more than 3 times, you can't then come to me and say, oh, he's not producing. Well, hell, he's not. Yeah, you're right, he's not producing. And you ain't calling plays for him to produce as a player.
And I do have to question, is it like a chicken and egg situation? Is he not getting the ball because he was dropping passes and wasn't making plays? Or is he not making plays because he's not getting the ball?
I think he's not making plays because he's not getting the ball. I look at how and listen, I go back and I look at this stuff in regards to, because I got to be careful when looking at and talking about Treylon Burks, because I want to see, well, did he get the opportunity? Is he doing what he needs to do on the front end? Okay, he's had his injuries. I give him that. I get that. And they haven't, I can't say he's a guy that's injury prone because he doesn't have those nagging injuries like every week we're talking about, a hamstring, or quad muscle, something like that. The injuries that he's had, they've been like these fluke injuries, a knee in practice, 2 concussions. And I've said this, I'm more worried about the concussions than I am the other stuff.
He's had 2 brutal concussions.
He's had brutal concussions. I'm more so worried about that than I am about those other things. And as far as the drop ball situation, he didn't lead the team in drop, but I can understand when you have a small sample size and then you drop 3 balls. I think he ended up dropping on the year 3, 4 balls, maybe that, maybe 4, what, no more than 4, I don't believe. So you look at it and you say, and then you look at his catches and you say, well, he's dropping more balls than, if you look at it on average, he's dropping more balls than he's catching.
Percentage-wise.
Exactly. But that's not true because he's not getting the volume thrown at him. He hasn't dropped no more than what anybody else would drop if they were to get, say, 50 targets. And I think that's what he ended up getting for the season, like 50-something targets, 60-something targets. And he only dropped 3, 4, and
it does depend too, like what is technically recorded as a drop.
Yeah, what's technically recorded as a drop? What is a catchable ball? What do they deem as a catchable ball? All those things I really don't know.
It's more subjective.
Exactly, it's subjective. But to me, when I look at it, I look at a guy that hasn't been given the opportunity. But even though you haven't been given the opportunity, how did you approach that as a player? Did you get upset? Did you pout? What did you do as a player when they were not giving you those opportunities? I'm going to tell you what he should have did. Should have went up to the office and been like, give me the ball. Flat out. Marvin Harrison even said it. He told his son, like, sometimes you have to scream for the football. Every receiver in the league, if you think you're worth your salt, you scream for the ball when you're not getting it. I screamed for the ball. Give me the damn ball. I was Keyshawn Johnson. Why? Because I knew when you gave it to me, I was going to make something happen. Okay? So when I don't get the ball, you damn right I'm going to say, y'all need to give me the ball now. It's been 2 quarters. Y'all hadn't got me the ball. Somebody give me the ball. Throw me the ball. If you don't, then I'm a fuss. I am going to fuss. Behind the scenes, I'm going to fuss. I'm not going to fuss out. I'm going to fuss behind the scenes. And y'all going to know it because I'm going to come to you and tell you, get me the ball. I went up to GM's office and said, hey, listen, what's going on here?
I've heard Rick Neuheisel stories.
Exactly. So that has to be Treylon. And I know people are probably saying, he can't do that. Yes, he can.
He can absolutely do that.
But the point is, when you do that, you better make do on it. Because when you ask for the football, you better produce when you ask. I don't think he's screaming for the football yet.
Is that a concern? That he's not going up to the front office and saying, give me the ball. I want an opportunity.
It could be. And it's all about, again, it's about how you do it.
Yeah.
It's not about you're going up there and screaming and yelling, because my thing was, I didn't go up there screaming and yelling, but I went up there and said, listen, I can make plays. Y'all have seen it. Y'all know it. That's why y'all brought me in here. Or that's why y'all drafted me and put me in a starting position now. So give me the ball. Like, what's the deal? Okay. The next game, I get the ball 8 times. They throw it to me 8 times. I catch 8 balls. That's just how it is. That's what Treylon has to do. He has to go to the receiver coach and then the offensive coordinator and say, listen, give me an opportunity to prove to y'all I can do this. Because if he sits back there and don't say anything, they're going to forget about him. That's just the way this league is, especially when you're not producing the way they feel you need to be producing. If you're not yelling for the ball or screaming for the ball behind the scenes, they're going to forget about you.
And even if you are yelling and screaming for the ball behind the scenes, if you haven't done anything to earn those catches and to earn those targets, you're not going to get them.
You're right about that. But that's why I said when he does it, then now he's putting the pressure on himself, because you went to the coaches, you went to the GM and say, listen, I can contribute. Can I be a part of what's going on? Mm-hmm. How can I be a part of what's going on? How can I be more involved in the offense? All right, we're going to get you more involved in the offense, because they will. If you go up to them and you ask them what's going on in a way that's constructive, the next game, they're going to make sure you're involved, because they want to see if, okay, either you're going to make do on what you said, or we're not going to ever have this conversation again. Because if I go out and I target you and you drop 2 or 3 balls, don't ever come to my office again. Don't. I'm just being real. Well, that's how they think. Like, if you come to my office and you tell me I want the ball more as a receiver, I say, okay, you're right. And I go and I target you, and then you drop balls, I'm not coming back to you.
It's fair.
It's fair.
You have a limited number of times that you can bang on the table for yourself. You have to be able to back it up. If you want to talk that talk, you have to be able to walk that walk.
You have to prove to them that you are worth the spot on this team. And if you don't say anything and just, I'm just going to play, I'm just going to be the worker and not say anything. Well, go ahead and be the worker. You're going to find your ass out on the street or somebody else's team. You need to verbally talk with them and then physically go out there and get the job done, because you can go out there and do a lot of things in practice, and then you get in the game and they don't show you the ball. They don't throw you the ball. I'm sure Traylon did a lot of things during practice last season, but when he got in the game, he was targeted 3 times, 2 times, once, 4 times. It's like, are y'all trying to win games? What are y'all trying to do here? Because the last I looked, he did make plays for y'all. So why aren't y'all giving him the ball? I didn't understand that part. I can understand, okay, he's injured when y'all not getting the ball. But what about when he's healthy? When he's making plays, when the first half y'all target him 3 or 4 times and he catches them, and then we don't see him no more in the second half. Whose fault is that? It's not Traylon's fault. It's not like he's sitting back and saying, don't throw me the ball. So whose fault is that? That's why I said I am glad the last regime is gone, because now we're going to get a chance to truly see whether Traylon can be a player for this team or not. Because this new regime, it's a clean slate with them. They didn't draft you. They want you to convince them you need to be on this team.
They want him to
exactly.
Succeed. Why wouldn't you? As a first-round draft pick,
absolutely.
You don't have to worry about that third receiver position. Then great. There's plenty of other things that this team has to worry about in terms of roster building. So, I see so many texts in the text line, Traylon Burks will have a great year. Unless you have a crystal ball and unless you're a psychic, you can't tell me that he will have a great year. You hope that he has a great year, but hope is not a strategy. So if hope's not a strategy, as far as Traylon Burks is concerned, then what is the Titans' strategy? Or what should it be? We'll get into that coming up next. Of course, your phones as well. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Caroline, Willy, DMase, 1025-1063 The Game.
Happy Tuesday, everyone. We got a big game tonight. The Nashville Predators, the Vancouver Canucks, Game 5. And the Predators need to win this game. So if you're going to be making your bets, you need to do it with our partners, Zen Sports, and the new sports book in Tennessee that brings sports betting to a whole new level. And I mean that literally, people. When you sign up for Zen Sports, you'll automatically earn up to $1,000, no danger first wager. If your first bet loses, now this is if it loses, you'll be reimbursed for the amount of your bet up to $1,000. Zen Sports also offers true odds on all parlays and boosted game day parlays for all Tennessee sports teams. That means boosted up to 20% over other books in Tennessee. And there's even more good news, people. Zen Sports offer a one-of-a-kind VIP reward program. And who doesn't like to be a part of a VIP reward program, okay? If you qualify, you'll earn monthly comps at sporting events, concerts, you name it, even sport book bonuses. The VIP program is by invite only, so you just can't jump in there all willy-nilly. People, it's by invite only. So if you feel that your Zen Sports play qualifies for the VIP consideration, please check out the program details and apply at zensports.com/VIP. So what are you waiting for, bettors? The daily same game parlay boost go quick. So get going and download their app at zensports.com today. That's Zen Sports, where betting just got better. And remember, gambling problems, call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years or older to bet here in Tennessee.
Caroline, Willy, DMase, tune into 93.3 Classic Hits today as the Nashville Sounds take on the Norfolk Tides at First Horizon Park. pregame at 6:20, first pitch at 6:35, with coverage also available on 93.3 Classic Hits app and at 933classichits.com. Sounds baseball coverage presented by Twin Peaks Family Leisure and Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. So we heard a clip from Rand Carthon and Robbie and Rexrow talking about how great of an offseason Treylon Burks is having, how he's trending up, how he's optimistic about Treylon Burks. And look, I have no reason to doubt that Treylon Burks is doing everything in his power, doing all the work, putting all the work in to be great this upcoming season. I have no reason to doubt that. But with that being said, I am adopting the Treylon Burks ex-boyfriend rule of, you fooled me once, you're not going to fool me again. I can't keep going back to you. I can't keep trying to fix you after you've been disappointing me too many times. That I've learned my lesson, and I hope that Treylon Burks proves me wrong. But that's hope.
Yeah,
and hope is not a strategy.
Yeah, you can't bank on hoping, at least in football or in professional sports. That's not going to get you a bigger contract, and that's not going to win you a Super Bowl or be on somebody's team. I'm just looking at this before you finish because I know you have some more to say. He had targeted in 11 games. He missed 6 games. Because there's 17 games, right?
17 games.
I keep on 16, 17. So
soon
17.
To be 18.
Soon
probably.
to be 18. Then they're going to get up to 20. Don't worry about it, people, because of the owner, not the owner, the Goodell says he doesn't like preseason. He came out and said he doesn't like preseason.
Of course he doesn't like preseason. It doesn't make money.
Which tells me they want to get up to 20 games. And so be prepared in years to come that the NFL, they get to 18, they're going to get to 19, then they're going to get to 20. So I believe that's going to happen. But
how many games? It was 16 when you were in the league, right?
16.
Could you imagine playing 4 more regular season games in addition to potentially 4 more playoff games? 24 games in a season.
I would have loved it.
You would have loved it?
I would have loved it, yeah, because I enjoy playing.
That's true.
I enjoy being out there.
Yeah.
Because to me it was fun. It was a game. It wasn't work. I didn't look at it as work, even though it's a high pressured, industry or profession is high pressured. But to me, it still was fun, and it was never work. Well, that last year did become work. That's why I ended up just retiring. Not because I didn't think I could play, but mentally I was just done. It became work for me. But this man got targeted 30 times last year. 30. Hear me again, people. 11 games he played in. He had 16 receptions. I hope I'm looking at this right because I don't have on my glasses, but I do believe what I'm looking at is true. He played 11 games. He had 16 receptions, 30 targets for 221 yards and not a touchdown. Am I looking at that right? Because I don't have on my glasses.
So, yeah, he had 16 receptions, 30 targets, 221 yards, and 0 touchdowns.
Yeah. How in the hell can somebody be productive like that? How in the hell can somebody get into a rhythm like that? Listen, I am not naive to think it's all Titans' fault. It was all, even though I'm glad the last regime is gone. I really am. But he has to do his part too.
Yeah.
He definitely has to do his part because there's no way in hell that he should get targeted 30 times should be in 2 games or 3 games. 30 times should be 3 games, not 11. There was something going on here, at least for me, because I've been there. Like, when you have a starter and you don't target him but 30 times in a year, something's going on. You don't like him. He doesn't like y'all. Y'all are not seeing eye to eye. You nor him nor the offensive coordinator or the head coach. More so, both of them, or more so the head coach, because the head coach can trump all that and say, you know what? Get him the ball. He needs to why isn't he getting the ball? The head coach can come and say that to the offensive coordinator. And then the offensive coordinator got to give an explanation on why he's not giving the ball.
Do you think Vrabel was part of the problem?
Yeah, I do think he was part of the problem. I don't think Treylon was ever his guy. I really don't. He probably didn't expect to have to draft.
Well, you
Treylon.
know who the guy was.
His guy was AJ, and I know, and great. He would have been my guy too if I was the head coach, because that dude produces. You don't have to worry about him. But the minute they traded him away, I think it was a ripple effect, not just with John Harbaugh. John Robinson, but also with Treylon Burks. I think Treylon Burks felt the after effects. sort of like the trembles after the earthquake, the small trembles. Traylon Burke has been feeling that the last 2 years because I don't believe he was the guy they thought they were going to have to draft, at least Vrabel. And then all of a sudden you have to draft him. That's not my guy. I was getting ready I wanted to draft somebody else, possibly a defensive player or something else. I didn't want to have to draft a wide receiver, but you had to because you traded the other guy away. He came in behind the 8 ball, at least to me.
And I do think it's double-sided because I don't think it's the craziest theory that Mike Vrabel would let his own arrogance and his own feelings get in the way of helping the football team. Because, look, if Mike Vrabel didn't want to trade A.J. Brown and he didn't want to go that route, that's fine. But to hold that grudge against Traylon Burks to the extent that it hurts the football team, I mean, like, that's your downfall there. But also, did Traylon Burks do enough to prove Mike Vrabel wrong?
And that's
Mike Vrabel didn't want to trade it. We're assuming didn't want to trade A.J. Brown and didn't want to draft
I'm sure Burks. He didn't want to trade A.J. Brown.
And then Traylon Burks shows up to rookie minicamp and he can't finish the first practice. Well, if I'm already coming in with a bad taste in my mouth about you, you're not doing much to change my mind.
Vrabel, and again, listen, this is not all Vrabel's doing, and that's not what I'm trying to allude to because I've also said that Traylon needs to do his part.
It's double-sided.
It's double-sided. He needs to do his part, but I do believe that, and this is only me, I haven't gotten this from anywhere else. This is just me playing the sport this sport had and have seen the things that I've saw that goes from you targeted him 54 times a year prior. And I get it. He's a rookie. You're trying to acclimate him to what's going on and everything else. So I understand. And then he was trying to get himself in condition. So that probably contributed to a lot of things he wasn't able to do his rookie season. But then he comes back and out of your mouth, head coach and everybody else, he came back in the best condition. He was ready to go. He was eager to go. He gets in the season. I know he missed some games early on because of the knee. But then you only target him 30 times throughout the season. Head coaches are aware of everything. They're aware of everything that goes on. There's not a time that he didn't go into that meeting room, that offensive meeting room, and he didn't know that Traylon Burks didn't get targeted more than 3 times. He went into that meeting room the day after the game every week. He knew how many times Traylon Burks got targeted. It never changed. So if it never changed, that tells me he really didn't. It was like, okay, it doesn't matter to me. You know, he's not my focus. He's not my main focus. My main focus is getting Hop the ball, which would have been mine too. Hop, I don't have to worry about D-Hop.
Especially when we're talking about when the transition from Ryan Tannehill to 11.
Exactly.
If I'm a young rookie quarterback making my NFL debut, I'm probably going to fall back on
you're going to fall back on a veteran guy, and rightfully so. But even falling back on a veteran guy, you shouldn't forget about there's other receivers within, because if you are able to get the other receivers in the game, offensive coordinator, quarterback, head coach, it makes it easier for the guy you really want to get the ball, DeAndre Hopkins, because he's a playmaker. You get everybody else involved, it's easier for him to get the ball. They didn't do that. Everything was so lopsided. That's why it was hard for them to move the ball last year. Offensive line, but then they knew who you were going to. Every play. They didn't have to worry about those other guys. Guarantee you. You look at the scouting report, you will know the majority of the passes go here. They don't go here. They go here. So let's make sure we pay attention to this. He may throw it over here, but don't worry about it. Don't worry about it because he's not getting many targets anyway. But this guy we need to pay attention to. And that's what they did. And they never got out of that. They were so hell-bent or so bullheaded that they didn't realize that we need to start getting other guys the ball. It was the same for the other receivers. They barely got the ball. Not only was your offensive line horrible last year, but the distribution of the football was horrible. And you can't blame it. Everybody wasn't dropping passes. I can see if you had Kansas City's roster, their receivers, then okay, I can understand why you throwing the ball to Travis Kelce all the time or why you throwing the ball to Diop. I can understand, but it wasn't like that.
Well, who would be that second person that you would trust behind Diop? Because Chick struggled to catch the football at least early on in the season.
I trusted Treylon Burks because if you look throughout the whole, he had 30 targets. He dropped, let's say, 4 balls. I think that's what it ended up being, like 4 balls, I believe. Now, was it more than that? I don't know. I hadn't looked at the drops just yet. But I would tend to believe, because I think D-Hop led the team in drops. I think he had 5. But D-Hop is a high volume.
He got more targets.
Yeah, he got more targets.
You're going to have more drops.
And I really only saw him drop 1 ball, and that was the one in the end zone. And that was a hard catch, but I expect him to catch it because he's made other hard catches.
Yeah.
That's just D-Hop, and he expected to catch it as well. So I don't know where they got the 5 drops from. I need to really go back and look at it. Yeah, for D-Hop, but I know he had 1. So I think D-Hop ended up leading the team in drop passes. But D-Hop got targeted over, 90 times, I believe.
Yeah, he had 137 targets. So if he drops 5 balls,
if he dropped 5 balls, exactly, I'll take that.
Treylon Burks had 30 targets and dropped 4. It's over 10%.
It's over 10%.
That's not good.
Exactly.
I wouldn't trust him either.
No. But here's the thing. Here's the thing with receivers, and quickly, because we got to go to break. We are grossly over time right now. Here's the thing about receivers. You get them involved in the game, get them in a rhythm, a guy that can catch the ball. You get him in a rhythm, that's better for him because now he's in a rhythm of catching the football. It's like muscle memory, boom, 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 boom. But if you target him in the first half or the first quarter and then don't target him into the fourth quarter, I'm not in a rhythm. That's receivers. They're not in a rhythm, just like a running back. Eddie George, Derrick Henry, they got better the more times they touched the ball. There were games that once in a while they did rush 10 times and have over 130 yards. Mm-hmm. But when you don't let those guys run the ball, more times than not, they tend to get a little rusty and it takes them a minute. Same with the receivers. You got to keep them involved in the game, and they ain't keep Treylon involved in the game.
Well, let's continue this. Because, you can hope that Treylon Burks becomes that guy. You can hope that Treylon Burks gets more of those opportunities and takes advantage of those opportunities. But again, hope's not a strategy. You have to come in with a plan B. If plan A is Treylon Burks works out, well, you know what? You're going to have to come in with a plan B. So what's the plan B? I think we need to revisit a conversation that we had pre-free agency. And we'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, DMase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Caroline, Willy, DMase, 1025, 1063, The Game, and The Game Nashville app. We're streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. And we're broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. It is Game 5 day for the Predators. Back in Vancouver, this is a must-win game. As we spent so much time over the past couple of months, is it a must-win? Well, it's not technically a must-win. This is a must-win.
Oh, yeah, it's damn sure a must-win.
You need to win this one.
Yeah.
You need to win this one. And although I don't have a lot of hope that the Predators are going to be able to win 3 games in a row, can you make things interesting? Can you bring it back to Nashville on Friday? We'll get back into your thoughts on that. We'll get back into our thoughts on that. But first, we're talking receivers, and we're talking Treylon Burks. And I can hear everything that Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan is saying in the offseason, how hard Treylon Burks is working, how excited and encouraged they are for Treylon Burks. I can hear that. But I can't put all of my eggs in the Treylon Burks basket. We've been there. We now have a 2-year sample size of Treylon Burks not being consistently available. What's your best ability? It's your availability. So we can hope that Treylon Burks takes that next step forward. We can hope that Treylon Burks is in a Tennessee Titans uniform and is at 1,000+ yard seasons for the foreseeable future, and that'd be great. But hope's not a strategy in the National Football League. So I think we need to revisit a conversation that we had pre-free agency when we talked about the Titans building their wide receiving core. Because I don't think that Calvin Ridley is enough, nor do I think a 6th-round selection is enough to build up this wide receiving core. You know, if Treylon Burks can be your wide receiver 3, then great. I cannot count on that. We talked a lot about Tyler Boyd, pre-free agency teammates. That was a name that was coming up. Obviously, the connections with Brian Callahan and Cincinnati. And my answer to that was always, okay, yeah, Tyler Boyd's great and all, but what else? Because D-Hop and Tyler Boyd and Treylon Burks and Mason Kinsey and Kyle Phillips, that's not enough in your receiving core. You need a certified number 2, and Tyler Boyd's not that. Even you need a certified number 1 if D-Hop's not going to be your number 1. I was looking at an article on Pro Football Network, looking at some of the best fits for some free agents right now. Ryan Tannehill's in it, too. Ryan Tannehill to Detroit, they say. Their best fit for Tyler Boyd is the Tennessee Titans, matching him with Calvin Ridley and with DeAndre Hopkins, where he can be that number 3 that he's been in Cincinnati. And, of course, you have a play caller and a head coach and Brian Callahan that knows how Tyler Boyd ticks, what makes him work, how he fits in best in this offense. I would be willing to readdress the Tyler Boyd conversation of potentially bringing him in on a short-term, low commitment, not a ton of money deal, but to bring him in here to be that certified number 3, Treylon Burks insurance.
Bringing him in as a Treylon Burks insurance.
Because if Treylon Burks gets hurt again, which he's been hurt consistently the last 2 years that he's been with the Titans, who's your 3?
Yeah, who is your 3? I know you still got Nick Westbrook-Akine at 1, and I like Nick as a receiver. So, I mean, listen, Nick can fit in that 3 role. That's where he's been, his short career. He's been the 3, and he's done a good job at being a 3, so much so they re-signed him back. So, obviously, they like him.
He is the face of reliability.
Yeah, he is. But I'm looking at Tyler Boyd, and even with Brian Callahan as the offensive coordinator in quotations in Cincinnati, even though we know technically, he was by title, but
not in play calling.
Yeah, Taylor was calling the plays. Tyler Boyd had 667 yards, 2 touchdowns. How many catches did they have? 67 catches. They got Chig for that. They got Wiley for that. If I bring in the 3rd wide receiver, to me, I need a little bit more than that. Even though that's good. Like, that's solid.
For a 3, yeah, I'd take that any day of the week.
But in an offense where Jamar Chase was down, T. Higgins was in and out of rotation as far as the games because his availability because of his injury, you were never able to step your game up because injuries will happen.
And also keep in mind who was also in and out of the lineup.
Yeah, the quarterback too. But this is a pass-centric team. They're going to run the football, but they're spreading out 3 wide receivers, and they're trying to get a matchup. They're trying to get a mismatch somewhere. And you were a part of the offense. They targeted you 90-something times, almost 100 times. So they made you a focal part of the offense.
Yeah.
I think that could be Treylon Burks. I think the 90-something times can be Treylon Burks, or the 80 times. Let's say in between 65 to 85, 90 targets. I'm saying targets. That should be Treylon. I think Treylon's upside is a lot better than Tyler Boyd. We know who Tyler Boyd is.
The upside, absolutely. But also, that's why you're bringing him in, is Treylon Burks' insurance. If Treylon Burks can't take that next step, if Treylon Burks can't stay healthy, which he hasn't been able to the last 2 seasons, and you can say, well, it's not his fault he got the concussions. I know, but whether it's his fault or not, he hasn't been available. So that's why I would bring in Tyler Boyd, one, to kind of push Treylon Burks a little bit of, look, we aren't holding our breath for you, that we've got to take care of our team and do what we need to do. But also the insurance of if Treylon Burks isn't able to stay healthy.
I think the insurance is Nick Westbrook-Akine. That's the insurance. That's why they signed Nick Westbrook-Akine back. To me, Nick Westbrook-Akine is Tyler Boyd. That's who he is. He's a solid receiver. He's younger than Tyler Boyd. He knows what you want out of that particular position, the third receiver. He knows the quarterback. So if they bring in Tyler Boyd, great. I wouldn't sit there and say, no. If they bring him in, great. Yeah. But they have Tyler Boyd on this roster already. They have Nick Westbrook-Akine, who is their Tyler Boyd. He's really the 4th/3rd receiver. Tyler Boyd would be the 4th/3rd receiver.
They have Nick Westbrook-Akine as the insurance in title, technically. But if you give me Nick Westbrook-Akine or Tyler Boyd, you give me the option of the two when I'm building my team, I'm taking Tyler Boyd.
I'm not taking Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd numbers have declined every year since 2019.
And he's not going to be your receiver 1 for the next 10 years.
I don't even want him to be my receiver 3. I got to pay. How much money do I got to pay him to be the wide receiver 3, 4, or maybe even 5?
I don't think that you would have to pay him a lot just because he's still a free agent. Like, he's still on the market.
I wouldn't bring him
wherever
in.
Gets an offer.
I wouldn't bring him in until after camps are over. If that's when I need to find out who my 3 guys are, who my 4 guys are. They're going to bring in, they drafted a receiver. They got Colton Dow from last year. They're going to bring in more bodies. They're going to have the bodies. I need to find out if the 4 guys, because it's like 4 guys they are really counting on. I know they expect Colton Dow to make a progression. I get that. I understand that. And I'm sure in their minds, there may be a plan. There is a plan for him. I don't know exactly what that plan and what it entails. There's a plan for him.
And let's be fair. He's a 7th-round pick coming off of an injury. Let's temper our expectations for Colton Dow here.
Absolutely. And then you just drafted the kid Jackson out of Louisville. So
Tulane.
Tulane, not Louisville. Tulane. So you want to make sure right now, from now until the end of cap, because Tyler Boyd ain't going nowhere. If everybody else is waiting too. I would be surprised if he signed in the month of June. I would be. It's more like July down the line, just like some of these safeties that are still out there. Some of them I don't expect to get signed right now. I expect them to get signed in July, maybe even August.
And I expect the Titans to sign one of them.
Exactly.
Whenever and whoever.
It may be late June or maybe right as they're entering camp. I think that's the same with Tyler Boyd. See what you have. Go through practices, mini camps, regular camps. He's not going nowhere. I'm telling you, he's not going. I would be surprised if somebody, unless he just took the league minimum and said, I just want to be on the team right now.
Yeah.
He'll find the team. But if he's holding out for a dollar number, then he's going to be there for a minute. Okay? So don't rush. Find out what you have now. Let these practices go on. And if you see that Treylon's not the guy or Nick Westbrook-Akine is not the guy or you need that 5th receiver, then you sort of tap into that. But there's no need for you to tap into it now. Let me see what we got first before I go and start paying somebody else, at that position.
But don't you know what you have in Nick Westbrook-Akine?
You don't know what you have under this system.
That's true. It's a new system.
Yeah, it's a new system. He may flourish in this system. We don't know. I mean, when I say flourish, I mean he will be better in this system than he was in the last. He will be
flourish within the confines of the Nick Westbrook expectations.
Confines within the third or fourth receiver.
Right.
I think he will flourish a little bit more. He could potentially flourish a little bit more under this new system. That's why you want to see, what do we have here?
I can already hear Paul Kuharsky saying, Nick Westbrook-Akina has an explosive. What an explosive offense. Nick Westbrook-Akina has an explosive. And look, I don't disagree.
I'm not asking for Nick Westbrook-Akina to be explosive, but
they want this offense to be explosive.
Tell me when he's there's probably one really, that one in the end zone where I thought he should have caught a touchdown pass and he ended up dropping it. That's probably the only pass, and I could be wrong on this one. Mm-hmm. That's probably the only pass that I've seen that Nick Westbrook-Akina has dropped that the Titans needed. Every other time the Titans needed
whenever
him.
the Titans need something, they don't go to Nick Westbrook-Akina.
No, they have. Watch these games when they need critical third downs or sometimes or plays to be made. Nick Westbrook-Akina is the guy that makes them. It doesn't happen all the time. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When they need him, he's come up with big catches. That's all I'm saying about Nick Westbrook-Akina. So you can scream that he's not explosive all you want to, which you're probably right. But when the Titans need him to make a play, he makes it for them. You don't just catch the ball, man. And that's all he does is catch the ball.
Just catch the ball. I'm still, whether it's Tyler Boyd or another receiver in free agency, I just lean toward Tyler Boyd because of the familiarity with Brian Callahan.
And I think that's why everybody else, they say he's a perfect fit because of the familiarity.
It's a fair, match to make. Whether it's Tyler Boyd or another wide receiver in free agency, a veteran wide receiver in free agency, that you're not going to commit yourself to a 4-year deal or, a $20 million deal. No. It would be low commitment. It wouldn't be for a ton of money. And it would just be, look, we need you to go out there and make plays if we can't get that from Treylon Burks. And if we can't get that from some of our young guys, you got to have some insurance.
But that's why you wait. You wait until July or you wait until August. Because then now I know, okay, I got the picture is coming in clear that maybe this guy can't operate as the fourth or third receiver. Maybe this guy can't. Okay, now Tyler Boyd is there. Now we ramp up the talks with Tyler Boyd and his agent. But right now, there's no need to ramp up the talks.
You don't have to call him today.
You don't have to call. I wouldn't call him until I know for sure, late July, August. And I see things ain't going the way I want them to go, then I'm like, okay, we need to make these calls.
But I thought I knew for sure that Treylon Burks was going to be able to be an impact player last season, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, when he went down versus Minnesota, everything just kind of snowballed and went downhill somewhat. I
want to get into your thoughts on this. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Kyle's on the line with a thought on Treylon Burks. Go ahead, Kyle.
Hey, guys. I'm really looking forward to seeing Treylon come back. I want to see something out of him. What would y'all think about him as a big red zone target? I mean, just a big body, run that fade route, go up and get it, those big hands, use that big butt of his to box him out. I mean, that's the only thing I can really see that he can give us right now because I don't see him as a complete receiver. And I got another thing for you, too. Why haven't we signed Pete, the offensive tackle, yet? I mean, as bad as our line has been the past 2 years, we could use about 2 or 3 more just in case. I want to overload on that. I know he wants some money, but if you're going to invest in something, please invest in an O-line for Will. We won't know if we have a quarterback if he's on his back.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you in the slightest. Great call, Kyle. In terms of Andrews Pete, give me all the tackles, every single one of them.
Just keep on bringing them in.
Like when Rand Carthon said we feel good about guys in our locker room that can play left tackle, or maybe it was Brian Callahan. I can't remember, but I'm like, who?
Yeah, who? Like who?
Dylan Radins?
Yeah, I guess y'all see somewhere we don't see, and
Jesus,
typically it's that
take
way.
The wheel. Yeah, if Dylan Radins is your left tackle. So yeah, no, I would be in on Andrews Pete. Your thoughts on Treylon Burks as a red zone target?
They could use him as a red zone target. They didn't use him at all the last 2 seasons as a red zone target. Hell, they didn't use D-Hop much as a red zone target last year either. I know they probably designed some plays for him to get the ball in the red zone, but it just didn't materialize probably the way they wanted it to, or either or even D-Hop wanted it to. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure they tried to target D-Hop in the red zone. I'm not sure if they tried to target Traylon in the red zone. You would just assume that 6'3", big body guy, that he would be more of an impact in the red zone, going up against these DBs one-on-one. Just throw the ball up there and let him and see what he can do. But they and believe me, correct me if I'm wrong, because I want to be wrong on this one, mm-hmm. because I don't want it to think it's just all one-sided here. But I don't think they targeted Traylon in the red zone at all. I could be wrong on this one, but like deliberately target him and when I'm talking the red zone, I'm talking 10 yards in, and I'm not the goal zone, whatever you want to call it. I'm talking 10 yards in, where he can use his big body to body up these 6 foot or 5'11", 5'10" cornerbacks. I'm not sure they did that. At least last season, I'm not sure they did that. Now again,
I don't remember.
If y'all tell me he did, I will stand corrected. But the games that I looked at, nah, he wasn't much. They didn't implement him in the red zone.
They used D-Hop a lot when they went over the middle, just to take advantage of D-Hop's height.
Exactly.
I don't remember Traylon Burks getting targeted in the red zone. Again, not to say that it didn't happen. I just an instance doesn't stand out in my mind.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, that shouldn't be the case. That shouldn't be the case where both of us are sitting here. And callers, if there has been times where they deliberately threw him the ball in the red zone, please call in and let us know. Because the games that I watched, especially last season, I don't think that was the case. Mm-hmm. And that's disheartening to realize, like, this guy's 6'3", and y'all didn't target him in the red zone at all last season? I could be wrong. Again, I could be wrong. But that's the way it seems.
Let's get into your thoughts on this. We got Titans thoughts. We got Predators thoughts, because it is Game 5 day and puck drop at 9 o'clock in Vancouver. Preds thoughts, Titans thoughts, your phones coming up next. Caroline, Willy, DMase. We're brought to you by Zen Sports. Start earning cash rewards on your bets today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and in Tennessee to bet. Caroline, Willy, DMase, 1025, 1063, The Game, and the Game Nashville app. We're about 8 hours away from puck drop, and me just saying that just kind of makes me tired just thinking about it. But it is Game 5.
I'm going to take me a nap.
I need a little bit of a nap, too. I think nap, coffee, all of the above. Predators, Game 5 tonight in Vancouver. Predators find themselves on the wrong end of 3-1. Lose tonight, and you come back to Nashville, and you're going to Cancun. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they want to go to Cancun.
Yeah, if you're coming back to Nashville, please just come back to play another game.
I'm with you, DMase. So we'll get your thoughts on that. We've got a bunch of thoughts on Treylon Burks with the Titans due to address the wide receiver position. And we are right into your phones. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you have a thought. Chuck Texan says bringing in a new wide receiver right now is like me saying I want to bring in a new girlfriend and see which one works best for me. It doesn't work. Except that if you have a girlfriend in a monogamous relationship, you get one.
Yeah.
You get one girlfriend. Mm-hmm. You need more than one receiver in the National Football League.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I understand what the texter is alluding to. Yes. That's why I said, I'm not saying I'm opposed to a Tyler Boyd, but let's take this, May, June, July to see what we have. Okay, like we know what we have in D-Hop and Burt. Mm-hmm. I mean in Ridley. We know what we have. We know in a sense what we have in Nick Westbrook-Akine. Now again, he can't elevate based upon the new offense that the Titans are going to have this season. He can elevate his game, somewhat. Mm-hmm. So even though we know what we have in Nick Westbrook-Akine, there's still room based upon the offense for him to grow. The question mark, obviously, is Treylon Burks. Yeah. And I know, as well as they know that Treylon Burks has the talent.
Totally.
They've seen it. It's been sporadic, but they've seen it in the last 2 years.
That's why he's a first-round pick.
Here and there. Even after they drafted him, they've seen moments in games where, okay, that's what we drafted him for. That reason right there. Or in practice, that's why we drafted him. But there's still a question mark, which these next 2 or 3 months gives us an opportunity to, meaning the Titans, give them an opportunity to erase that question mark and make it an exclamation mark or a period or whatever, or just like, he's not the guy for us. We need to bring in somebody else. So you have these couple of months to do it. Again, you don't have to rush to sign a Tyler Boyd, because I do believe Tyler Boyd will still be there. But in a new offense, new offensive coordinator, new head coach, let's see if we can maximize the talent in Treylon Burks. The last regime didn't do it, couldn't do it, whatever. Let's see what we can do. So we're going to give this 3-4 months, because again, we're not starting the season. We're just trying to figure out who's where and what and how we're going to, run this offense and who's going to be our guys within this offense. The next couple of months will sort of make that clear for you, because I'm talking July when camp started, August as we get into camp, mm-hmm. in preseason games. That's when you typically see guys being signed. Guys like a Tyler Boyd is either during camp because somebody goes down,
yeah,
or after camp when they figure, oh man, that ain't our third receiver, that ain't our fourth. We know what Tyler Boyd. See, the good part about it is they know who Tyler Boyd is. They don't need him.
And he knows this offense.
Exactly. And he knows the offense, so we don't need to rush him in here.
The only thing for me would be he knows the offense. Mm-hmm. Brian Callahan knows him. He doesn't know
Will Levis.
And
yeah.
Will Levis doesn't know him.
Exactly.
If you're thinking of bringing in another receiver, which I think that they should, I think that there are just too many question marks outside of DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley to feel comfortable going into the season with this current wide receiving core. I'd want Tyler Boyd to have some time to build that chemistry with Will Levis. Will Levis is still a young quarterback.
Yeah, he's still a young quarterback. But my thing is that I understand the rapport, but I don't need. It's not imperative for me to bring him in within the next 2 to 3 months. It's really not. I understand the getting him acclimated with the quarterback, but they can do that, in July, late July, August. Hell, I've seen receivers come in during camp or after camp, and they pick up where they left off, and they kind of go, and they somehow, some way, find that rapport with the quarterback that they need. I'm not saying it can't happen if they don't sign him early. It still can happen if they choose to sign him late July, August. He still can build up that rapport with the quarterback. But for me, I want to know, as they do too, I'm sure, they're going to take these next couple of months, not to say they're not going to bring in guys, but they're going to take these next couple of months to figure out who's going to be the guys and who are not, who's not. And if the ones that aren't, we need to bring in other guys that are going to be. That typically doesn't happen until late July.
And look, the free agents that they sign in this next wave, it's going to be beyond wide receiver. Like, you need more tackles.
Yeah.
You need a safety. I would say bring in more linebackers. Like, you need more bodies. They're not done signing in free agency, but I would add wide receiver to that list as well. But Andrew Texan says, DMase, is Tyler Boyd good, or does he benefit from other receivers getting all of the attention?
Well, Tyler Boyd is a good receiver. This is a guy that, he's had back-to-back 1,000-yard years. Now, I think that was before they went and got Chase and T. Higgins. It might have been the last year. It might have been when they got T. Higgins, and then that year he had the 1,000-yard, his second 1,000-yard season. And then when they got Chase, everything sort of went down after that.
He had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in 2018 and 19, and then they brought T. Higgins in the 2020 draft.
Yeah, so once they brought T. Higgins in, and then they went and got Chase, his production dropped each and every year after that. So I think Tyler Boyd is a good receiver, but I know what he is. So there's no rush for me to hurry up and bring him in. I know what he is. I know what he brings to the table. Let me see what we have here. And I know people are saying, well, you've had 2 years to figure it out with Treylon Burks. Well, that was 2 years under somebody else. Now this is the first year under us, meaning the coaching staff, not the GM. Even though the GM said this is truly his first year. I get it. But
me too.
This is the coaching staff first year with Treylon. So let's see what he can do.
And I think that it's a fair point, absolutely, because it's a new regime, it's a new system. But what doesn't change is the injury. Doesn't matter who the coach is, who's doing the picking, who's the GM is. If you are injury prone, you're injury prone, whether it's your fault or not. And unfortunately, Treylon Burks has been on the receiving end of just some unfortunate injuries. But Ron Texan says, so can any wide receiver or tight end ask for the ball if they feel like they can make a play or they feel like they're in a mismatch on their opponent, or do you have to earn the right to ask for the ball?
Well, obviously, what comes first is earning the right. That comes first. And then you can ask for the ball as much as you want to. Or if you're a first rounder, you can ask for the ball. You're the first rounder. They should want to get you the ball, right? Well, you should ask for the ball. You scream for the ball. But no, I understand what the texter is saying. Yes, typically is you earn the right to get the ball, and then if you're not getting it, then you can say, hey, give me the ball. Don't forget about me. I'm over here by myself. Hey, don't forget about me. Hello, I'm here. I'm in the uniform. I got your helmet on. Throw me the ball. So I know what the texter is alluding to. He's basically saying Treylon hasn't earned the right. And I'm not going to, sort of litigate that portion because I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm not, because he does. Again, this is not a one-way street. This is a two-way street. As much blame as I have put on the Titans, the last regime, for not getting him the ball, I've always said Treylon has to do his part too. Treylon has to. They got to know. You asked this question about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Does he want it? And that's a question I can't answer. That's a question our callers or our texters can't answer. That's the question. Treylon, only person that can answer that question. And that's the part that I'm scared about. Because that's like, is this person, what type of person? Well, I don't know what type of person they are, other than what I've seen.
Yeah.
But there's a part of, that's the scary part because I don't know. That's the part. It's like, I can't tell you whether this person will do that or this. And that's sort of like the part that it's like, oh my goodness, yeah, you may be right. So they may be right. I don't know. You may be right, Caroline. But I don't know.
And I'm not saying he doesn't.
Exactly. But that is the question. Yeah. You got all the physical ability. Like, you have the traits of a receiver. Like, if I was building a receiver, he would be 6'3", 220, 4'4", 4'5" speed, longer. Traylon has all that. Mm-hmm. So what is it? Do you want it? Like, that's a serious question that neither one of us can answer. But that is a question that you need to answer.
If you want
ask.
It's yours for the taking.
Exactly.
Take it.
And that's what the Titans are trying to figure out, I think. Prove to them you want it. Mm-hmm. You prove to them you want it, they will give it to you.
We've seen this a lot of conversation of questioning if Treylon Burks has the dog. And I think that's the want. Like
exactly, that's the
burning desire of, like, I'm winning this matchup. I'm getting this ball. I'm carving out my role. I have a text that's going to make you mad, DMase.
Go ahead.
Hair Metal Henry texts in. Says, I'm writing Saros the rest of the way, but pulling him for Lincoln is really not so far-fetched. Willy can tell you it was not that long ago that Corey Crawford got yanked in game 2 or 3 and Scott Darling shut them down and bounced them for the first round. Lincoln?
I like Lincoln. Yeah, I know I like Lincoln.
He's not your guy.
But he's not my guy. He's not my guy. I'm not going to argue with anybody. I'm just standing on business with UC. I'm standing on business with UC Saros, okay? You can't tell me nothing. I'm going to be that guy I'm going to be that parent that my kid is bad as hell, but it's everybody else's fault but my kid. I'm going to be that way with UC Saros, with Saros. That it's not his fault. I don't care what y'all say. It's not UC's fault. Let's go somewhere else.
So my thing with Saros is, of the list of blame or reasons why the Predators find themselves down 3-1, Saros is pretty low on that list.
Yeah, he is. But I know that
he hasn't been playing to the level that we know.
Exactly. He needs to play better. There's no excuse for that. He did let in a soft goal the first game of the series. I get that. But I don't think the Predators' problems are solely UC Saros. I don't. I don't think that's the case. So I think he hasn't played the way we have seen him play, that we have come accustomed to him playing. I know he hasn't played up to that level, but he has played winning goalie. He has been on a winning goalie level this series. Some of those goals were, that first one was a soft one, but after that, I don't think he's given up any soft goals. They've been
the Lindholm goal in game 1 is the one that I'm like,
that's the one
really?
Like seriously, UC,
you make that save.
Exactly, that's the save you make routinely, but you didn't, and that's your fault.
And you need to make those
exactly.
saves.
But after
especially
that,
if you want to make $8 million for the next 8 years, you
but
need
after
to make
that,
those saves.
UC, if it was up to me, I'd give you the $8 million. If it was up to me, I'd give you 8. I'd maybe even give you 9. Yeah, I'd give you 9 just because.
DMase is
but
like
it's not
carte
up to me.
blanche.
Yeah.
Whatever you want. You want 20? You get 20. Like Oprah.
You want another million? I'll give you another million.
You get a million. You get a million. I don't think that Saros has been egregiously bad in this series. Like, how about you don't break down defensively in front of the net with 6 seconds left in the game? How about we do that? How about, and I'm not blaming Colton Sissons, but, like, you got an empty net. Like, how about you make that? We're talking about a much different story.
How about you hit the net? But I get it.
And I will be the first one to say that I think that we need to do some serious introspection and serious, breaking down of UC Saros' play if we're going to be talking about a second contract. We're going to do that after this series. But UC Saros has not been the sole reason why you're down 3-1. If that was the case, I would say, put Lincoln in it. Like, make whatever changes necessary. But, like, Tommy Novak, like, how about you do something? Like, Roman Yossi, love ya.
But
you're not playing to the level that a superstar player needs to play at in the playoffs. And he is a superstar player. So, not putting all the blame on UC Saros. Okay, coming up next, our official picks and predictions, what we expect to happen, what we want to see tonight from the Nashville Predators in Game 5. We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, DMase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Ryan, Willy, DMase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app. Game 5 tonight. Win?
Yes.
You come back to Nashville to play Game 6 on Friday. Lose?
You
done.
come back to Nashville to go home.
You done.
You come back
Dunzo.
to Nashville to take a vacation.
Gentleman's sweep.
I hope that don't happen.
I hope it doesn't happen too, for several reasons.
Exactly.
But one being, you are a stone's throw away from being up 3-1 in this series.
Yeah.
And then turning around and losing in 5? We had a caller earlier talk about how elite and how great of a team Vancouver is. And look, Vancouver's a good team. Mm-hmm. They've got superstars. You can tell the size and speed difference on the ice. But even with all of that, the Predators have outplayed Vancouver for a majority of this series. Not all of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, the game that they looked their worst, they won.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't feel fair. And I know sports aren't fair. And I don't mean to be whiny and say, well, it's not fair that they lose in 5. But it just doesn't feel like they've played too well to go home this early.
Yeah.
But even still, I don't feel very optimistic. But what do you want to see tonight, DMase?
Gosh. I think, well, I know. I want to see how they come out the first, 5 to 7 minutes of the first period, because it seems like they've gotten themselves in trouble the first 5 to 7 minutes of a few games in this series. So especially them going back home, the Vancouver crowd, they know that we can end this tonight. So that crowd is going to be a fever pitch. It's just going to be loud and screaming and yelling, and those white towels are going to be waving in Vancouver. How do you overcome that? That's the first 5 to 7 minutes. Mm-hmm. That's what I want to see. How do you overcome that? Or is it still a sense of shell shock from the last game? I think that first 5 to 7 minutes is going to be critical for the Nashville Predators.
Well, we've seen how much of a swing it can be and how quickly Vancouver can score.
Oh, absolutely.
I do want to see lineup changes tonight. Mm-hmm. I want to see Juuso Parssinen in and Tommy Novak out. Tommy Novak, through 4 games, has given you nothing, and you cannot get nothing out of a second-line player. And look, if Juuso Parssinen goes out there and he struggles and the game is too fast and too physical for him, I can live with that. What I can't live with is continuing to try to make something work that hasn't been working. It is put up or shut up today. It all comes down to tonight. And if you continue to get nothing from Tommy Novak, and that ultimately costs you opportunities, well, I can't blame anybody but yourself, because you were the one that decided to continue with going with what is not working. So I do want to see Juuso Parssinen in there in place of Tommy Novak. And look, Tommy Novak's a good player, and you just signed him to a contract extension, so it's not going to be like a crossroads of Tommy Novak's future with the Predators. But I need to win this game, and I need to get everything. I need to get as much out of all of the guys on the ice as possible. So I do want to see a lineup change. I also have to see something more from the power play. 1 for 15
that is
on the power play.
That is inexcusable.
Inexcusable, especially from a coach that his claim to fame is the power play. 1 for 15 on the power play, not good enough. And look, Vancouver hasn't been much better. They have 2 power play goals. They now have 2 6-on-5. They have 2 power play goals, but I'm not worried about what they're doing on their power play. You're not taking those advantages, those man advantages that you have on the power play. So I want to see that tonight. And I want to be proven wrong, because I don't have a lot of faith. I don't have a whole lot of optimism for what the Predators can do the rest of the series. But you can't win 3 games tonight. You can win 1.
Yeah, the first 5 to 7 minutes of the game and the last 5 minutes of the game. I do believe that's going to be the difference between the Predators coming home for game, what would it be, 5? 6. Game 6, or they're coming home to ultimately get ready for vacation. I think the first 7 minutes and the last 5 minutes of this game coming up tonight.
We don't want to go to Cancun.
Oh, no, I don't want to. I ain't going. But I don't want them to go.
I don't want you to go to Cancun.
Yeah, I want them to be here next week.
Puck drop.
Or this week.
Puck drop at 9 p.m. tonight. Game 5, put up or shut up. It all comes down to this. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. with a full Predators breakdown. Stillman & Company's up next.
Be love on your people. Happy Tuesday, and let's go, Prej. UC Soros, you the man. Let's do it tonight. Peace.